So thank you, sir. Thank you very much. I hope I'm audible and visible as well.
Yeah, sir. Clearly,
Yeah.
clearly.
Okay. So thank you for a kind introduction, and thank you all the participants for joining this session. I also express my heartfelt thanks to HRDC, now Madan Mohan Malviya Teachers Training Center of HGBU, for giving me this opportunity. So without taking much of your time, I will directly dive into the session. Today, this is my, I think, second time I am taking the session, and I hope we'll able to discuss few things which will be considered as the value addition for each one of us. Basically, I'm not here to teach you something, but share my own experience, my own understanding about Indian knowledge system. Okay, a few highlights or the key expectation from all the participants. You need to be a compulsory interactive. Uh, for being interactive, you need to respond in a chat whenever asked for. Okay, I'll be asking few questions. Don't worry, it will be not like GK or like generally I have observed the doctors fear lot about having catching a disease. Similarly, teacher have a lot of fear in mind about examination. So the questions will be not of examination kind. Like it will be somewhat similar to what just on a lighter side. Whenever the somebody retires and he has a pension, he has to submit a proof that he is alive or she is alive. The document doesn't work. The person himself doesn't work. He has to submit a document that he is alive, certified by the doctors. So I don't know whether there are some pensioner here. They will endorse this statement. But similarly, that you need to prove that you are listening to me. I am not talking alone. So for that, I'll be asking question. That's the purpose. It's not for checking your knowledge, checking your understanding. Absolutely, that's not the purpose. I know many of you are quite learned faculty members or already established and accomplished person. I don't have any doubt or any question on that. The purpose of question is I already told you that I want to ensure that I'm not alone speaking. You all are listening. So make sure that you respond to the question which I'll be asking in between in chat window. Okay, so let us start. As sir has already, I am working as a principal at Saraswati College, and also I founded a Government of India funded startup called AI Sense. We are sensing we have developed some sensors for sensing a disease through sensing various biosignals, and we build a pattern using artificial intelligence. So one of my technologies is already commercialized in Italy, and soon it will be commercialized in Germany. And we are doing large scale clinical trials at JJ Hospital, Mumbai, BJ Pune, GMC and IGMC Nagpur for non-invasive disease screening using biosignal analytics. So I invite the collaboration as well. If somebody is interested in this area, after the meeting, I'll share my mail ID. Okay. So let us jump into the Indian knowledge system. The Indian knowledge system basically is very rich in almost every aspect. You compare it on a scientific domain, you compare it on any other parameters that you have, but it is many times not represented correctly. There is a problem of representation. We have such a rich heritage and culture, and not only it's purely scientific. I'm not going to talk anything religious or spiritual today, because that is how generally the IKS pursued. I'll be focusing on the targets like the Sustainable Development Goals of United Nations, and how the Indian knowledge system has the solution to the problems. Even the NEP has a lot of bearings on it has a the considered it as a basis for the education system. And I think once you read, there is a statement, the right spirit and intent in NEP in the preamble itself. If you I generally say it's a teacher who can make it successful or who can fail this. Nobody else can do the task. If you want to make it successful, we'll definitely all together will make it successful. If we want to fail it, definitely we can make it miserable for everybody. So that is our role. That is what I understood. So that's why I think the don't look at the NEP from any angle except purely academic angle, and it is developed by the accomplished scientists and academicians. Okay, so if you give this dimension of looking at NEP, I think many of you will understand it's the NEP in its true spirit. That is what I feel. Now let us start with this Indian knowledge system. Let us start with the small movie clip, particularly a dance clip, not a movie exactly. So I think from the picture itself, many of you might have guessed what I'm going to show you. But once I complete this small, I have cut it short. Just few minutes of a clip. I request everyone to watch and listen it carefully. Then I'll have few questions based on what you have watched here. I hope everybody watching and listening. Watch it carefully. Watch this point carefully. Now,
कोणत्या ह्याच्यात कोणत्या ह्याच्यात
now, if you watch this carefully, did you okay, so the many of you responded that there is no sound. I think I forgot to share the sound as well while sharing. I'll stop, reshare, and maybe we can replay that. Doesn't matter if you're okay. I'm resharing it. I think few people want to listen the music as well. It's good that okay. Watch it again. If you watch this carefully, I think many of us doing this. Did you see any Indian value? Because the movie is considered like little negative side in Indian culture. But if you looked at this dance, did you see any value, anything which corresponds to the Indian roots, cultures, or let me help you to understand. So this can be compared with when the friends go for a lunch or a dinner in the restaurant, and there is a bill. Everybody fights that nahi bill main pay karunga. So I see some cultural values into it. So somewhat similar. Did you observe some values? Like some. Can I have answers in chat? You can
Sir,
unmute. Yes,
there is a scene of sacrificing of that winning.
exactly. Very good. Anything else? Sacrificing the ween. Very good. Okay. So I think the only one person is listening, but anyway, that's fine. So that is the
Friend,
culture.
sir, excuse me, sir.
Yes, please.
Friend, happiness is more important for themselves.
Very good. Thank you, Dr. Anuja ma'am, for pointing this out. So we choose the happiness of others. Even in losing, we can seek some kind of happiness or some kind of satisfaction. So motivates friends of happiness. That's Dipti madam is saying, right? So these are the values deeply rooted. Did somebody taught us this? But I think the way we share, like when you are, let's say, eating your foods and having your foods, and some guest enters your house, do you like eat like other? Like, I'm not discriminating, or I'm not. But what do? Do you offer the food to the person? Even if you are less food, will you like move inside the house with your plates, or you will offer the food to the person who is visiting, enjoying the situation? That's what Sagar sir is saying. Appreciation is important. Okay. So don't you think all these are the our traditional values that are there in our roots, that is there in our blood? So it's not like it has come all the way through, like in one instance, or through some particular day of a training, in a one day or a month's training. It required a lot of investment. We did a lot of cultural modification. We gone through various traditional practices, and then how it has reached to this level, right? So thank you, Madam Minal Madam, for our appreciation. We offer the food. So that is rooted in culture. That's never been taught to us, but that is deeply rooted in our culture. So from this perspective, we'll try and understand how the Indian knowledge system, what is the science behind all these activities that is there in Indian knowledge system, how rich we are in scientific manner. So that's what we'll try to study today. So let us start further. So I'll present you few scenarios first. My presentation will be divided in three phases. In first phase, I'll generally try to take a overview of what is the situation around all of us. Then I'll try to address what is our collective potential, all of us, and what should be done together. Okay, so that is how my presentation will be structured. So let us start analyzing the situation around us. So here is one example. If you look at the first picture, what can you infer? What is the failure here? So don't look at from this angle only, missing ethics and values. So as per your understanding, try to identify the engineering failure maybe, or the training failure, or what failure you see in each of this picture. The first picture, you can see this is a tap, and once you open the tap, instead of the water getting inside this wash basin, it's coming outside because there was miscalculation. I think you must have heard many scenarios like this in second picture, where you can see the post-operative seizure is there, or doctor has forgot to remove something, some parts or some instruments, and after the X-ray, post-operative X-ray, it is revealed, right? Then I think, I don't want to name the person, I purposefully hidden the face, but I think many of you can recollect the incidents. And there is one more scenario here. There is an advertisement by some lawyer. The ad reads somewhat like this. If you look at it, you don't, if you did a crime, but don't waste time, call this law. So what is missing in all these pictures? If you can answer in a chart, few of you. Okay, responsibility, belongingness. अगर मैं इस पिक्चर को इस तरह से देखूं, suppose there is one engineer who is not trained very well, because of which Probably we have this failure, and he could not mount this kitchen, or they couldn't estimate the measurements, and that's a failure. Let's say called a engineering failure. So in life, the engineer may install like 200, 500, 600, maximum thousands of this, and then they will learn. So he'll make 1,000 mistake, and there will be few loss, some financial loss, time loss, like this. That is the problem with the first picture I see. In second picture, if it is a major problem, like the Caesar was inside the stomach, and post op doctor has closed the wound, and it has caused some problem, and let us assume at max the worst that can happen, the patient died because of the complication that has arrived. So like this, the doctor may make a, if he is not a perfectly trained doctor, he may make few mistakes in the life like this, maybe a 100, 200, maximum 1,000. The lawyer can, if it is unethical, can do few, the few criminals will escape the law, and they will, instead of doing in being in jail, they will enjoy the free life, right? So Sagar sir is saying it is a lack of responsibility. Yes, I agree with you. Now last two pictures, the one is the terrorist, I don't want to name because it doesn't worth mentioning the name. So one is a terrorist who attacked Mumbai, and another picture I will show you here. Compare these two picture carefully. uh, I am a technologist, and the technology is always holding me back. Anyway, so slide was not moving, but finally I could move it. So the immortal soldier of Indian Mark, it is rifleman. He is known as Baba Jaswant Singh Rawat. If you remember, many the sad part of it is many of us know him only after the movie 72 Hours. A single person fought more than 300 Chinese soldiers, and they killed many of them in the battle. He was supported by two tribal girls, Sela and Nura. Okay. Now imagine the gun is the same gun, same weaponry is in hand of uh, rifleman Jaswant Singh, Paramir Chakra Vijeta Jaswant Singh Rawat, and the same gun is with the terrorist. Same weapon is with the terrorist. I think we have exactly two opposite situation. Okay. So why this difference? Who can make this difference? If you look at these two pictures, probably the untrained or the like wrong civil engineer or the untrained doctor, unethical doctor, they can harm few people, few thousand maybe. But if you look at the difference between these two picture, I think it is the basis or the fundamental difference between the Jaswant Singh Rawat and that terrorist is the values and knowledge system, or the system in which they have trained their teachers. So the teacher will not train only one terrorist or not only one Jaswant Singh Rawat. Teacher will train generations. If the teacher misses this values as an ethics, if teacher is not up to the mark, if teacher doesn't understand our culture and heritage, probably will ending with creating terrorist, educated terrorists, if they don't have the ethics and values. So terrorists are not always with the gun, they are with the knowledge to hack the account. That's missing value. That's an example of missing values and ethics. Terrorists are with a lot of the computer engineer who are missing this ethics and hacking others' account, or doing some malpractices to steal the money from online fraud. I think it is happening every now and then around us. So I see these are the white collar terrorists. Okay. So it is because they didn't get ethics and values during their training. So onus is on teachers. I'm a teacher, so I'm also responsible for putting one unsocietal element into society. So we'll do. So if one teacher is unethical, do you think how many of the people will be unsocial element will be there in a society? Probably I'll not able to count, because it will be It is because the unethical teacher they had. Okay, so teacher agar unethical hota hai, he or she can spoil the generations, not in thousands. It can spoil the generations. So that's why the Indian knowledge system, the ethics, values, value education is important. So let us move further and understand another dimensions of this. See, Jyotiba Phule said, "विद्ये विना मती गेली, मती विना नीती गेली, नीती विना गती गेली, गती विना वित्त गेले, वित्त विना शूद्र खचले, एवढे अनर्थ का अविद्येने केले." It has a similar meaning. Read between the lines. Just don't go by what is written. So the education, the value education, the morals in education is only a complete education. I was at a company in Hyderabad last week and for some tie-ups for the placement. I was surprised that the HR of the company said, it's a multinational company, "Sir, we don't want the people who are like technically sound, but we want the people who are morally and ethically very good and their communication is good. That for technical things, we can train them at company. That's not a problem. What we need is very little than what you teach in the college. We teach multiple subjects, but we want them master one single thing that we can teach in a couple of months. That's not at all an issue if they are not good technically. But what we want them to be, we want them to be very ethical. They have good communication." So the industry also started understanding this. Okay. Now the Galge Maharaj also highlighted the need of the education. It's complete education. It's not only a technical knowledge or the subject knowledge or a domain knowledge. We need to equip them. So difference between the terrorist and the soldier is missing value. Both are technically sound. The difference between hacker and the computer programmer is ethics and values. The difference between any criminal and the normal person, both are intelligent, missing values. The difference between any two characters, you consider one as a unethical and one as like a disturbance for the society, is missing values. So this is a scenario around. This is how we currently doing education. This way we are running education. If you can run through the content and somebody can respond in the chat, what do you understand from this? What it highlights? I think it's a more or less current scenario. If anybody can read and understand and comment in the chat, what you like infer, what you can infer from this. Anyone? The first picture is, assume that one is a principal and one is the faculty and then one is a student. I'm not comparing a student with something else, just for a example I'm taking here. So the principal is asking to the teacher and teacher is responding, "I taught the student how to whistle." Then suddenly the principal moves to the student and try to listen, and he says that, "I can't hear him whistle." Your student is not blowing the whistle. The teacher is responding to that, "I said that I have taught him, not that he has learned." I hope you understood the picture and you must be having, and this is not my picture. I have taken this. Now let us understand this from the one perspective of the ethics, moral. Are we into right moral situation? If we are a teacher, that you need to evaluate yourself, right? So this is more or less a scenario in academics across. Okay, now this is one side. Another side is where we are heading to. Artificial intelligence has taken a common place. probably many of the redundant tasks will be taken up by the artificial intelligence. If you give the paragraph to the chat GPT and even not a paragraph, just record your lesson, put a mic on a collar or using your mobile, uh, record your conversation with the students and their interaction with the teacher, and that recording will be automatically converted to script. And that script, you just type a last one sentence in chat GPT: prepare the final annual examination paper based on above script. It will give you a 10-15 set of question papers in just few seconds. So the redundant task like this can be taken up by artificial intelligence. It can help you to personalize learning. So I'm just trying to create the background, right, where we are heading to. And in this scenario, I'll try to explain why the IKS is required and what IKS can do using this technology. So I'll share my experiences. Bear with me. So then we have a sensor and base signal measurement systems. I have already given the references. These are standard references. The 4G, 5G, and we are also talking about a 6G connectivity and analytics. Let me give one example where we are living, in which world we are living and where we are heading to. So if you search something on Google and go to the Amazon or vice versa, you get the similar ads. That is possible because of this sensor. The way you lock and unlock the phone can reveal so many things about your thing. My personal inference, don't generalize it, just for like on a lighter part. My personal is the more complicated is the password, more complicated is the person. So like this, we can the even if I can record your the wake up and sleep time, I can infer so many things about you. If I look at social media analytics, I can look at your social media profile. I can identify what kind of clothes you wear, what color you prefer, where you would like to dine, where you would like to go for like vacation. I can what are the members in your family, who are your friends, like all these things I can easily infer from the social media analytics. So it is very rapid and effective. That's the word you are. I call it as it's a predictive world. We are no more into reactive or proactive world. We are into predictive. Everything is being predicted. How many passenger will board the bus on a particular bus stop to maybe how many restaurant visitor I will have today and what is their test preference. Everything can be predicted. Okay, so we are living in a predictive world. You might have experienced that many times. Once you do something, some social media activity, you start getting calls or emails with respect to that activity, advertise related to that activity. So we are into already into a predictive world due to this technology. Now in this technology, where the IK is going to find a place, that is what we need to discuss today. Another dimension, like government dimension, we need to bring not a single government, like say government of India. So more than 200 countries, they came together, they sat and discussed for 5 years, and they identified the problems for the humanity. And then that problems are grouped into categories. These are 17 categories, 17, and they are known as sustainable development goals. So these are the problems of entire humanity. Despite of this technology, despite of so many advances, despite of a predictive world, there are different set of problems. Earlier there were different problems, now we have different set of problems. Before I like dive into further, I will like to draw your attention to the figures here. Okay, so targets, events, and the most important actions. Each of this action amounts to 100 PhDs. That level of projects these are. So we have, these are the problems of humanities. So if you multiply this by 100, so approximately 75,000 plus problems that the world is facing. And I believe many of them can be solved through the Indian knowledge system. Indian knowledge system has a solution. If you look at this problems, you will carefully, if you carefully study the IKEAs, almost more than 50% problems can be solved. I am talking scientifically. I am not on the spiritual or religious background. Yeah, I have my own beliefs, but I don't want to get into that today. Okay. So this is another scenario. So I'm trying to give you the scenario in which we are in. Okay. Another scenario, if you look at our level, at individual level, we have talked about the government level, we have talked at the environment level. So if you, there are two statements before 2000, or maybe let's say 30 years back. If you get somebody in a police station and ask him to be a witness, probably you might have heard the statement, साहब मैं बाल बच्चे वाला हूँ, मुझसे झूठ ना बोलवाइए, मैं सच्ची बोलूंगा. But nowadays that statement has changed to, because we have so many bahubalis and there are so many things around, मैं बाल बच्चे वाला हूँ, मुझसे सच ना बुलवाओ. That is the scenario that has changed. That is what we are living into. Another scenario you look at carefully, which we are experiencing in our day-to-day life. All teacher might experience this multiple times in a year. Probably each time the results are declared. Earlier, I think many of us had into this situation of which I showed here in 2000. The answer or the onus of bad grades was always on a student. Why didn't you attend the classes? Why didn't you learn? ट्यूशन भी उन्हीं बच्चों को लगती थी जो स्कूल में स्लो लर्नर थे, जो समझ नहीं पाते थे. नाउ टुडे द सिनेरियो, ट्यूशन नहीं है मतलब समझा जाता कि अरे इसको कुछ नहीं आता. सो वी हैव रीच्ड in just 30 years we have transitioned a lot. So grades का आंसर टीचर को, why my students anything less than 90 we consider bad and the teacher is answerable for it. Okay, that is another scenario and in which we need to practice Indian knowledge system. Okay, so this is another dimensions. I'm just trying to present the dimensions. I'm not just highlighting the issues and problems. I'll present you the solution as well. Okay, do you agree with this scenario? Just let me check how many of you are listening to me. So first two statement, मैं बाल बच्चे वाला हूँ, मुझसे झूठ ना बुलवाओ. मैं बाल बच्चे वाला हूँ, मुझसे सच ना बुलवाओ.
Yes, sir.
Do you agree on this statement?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Rajendra ji saying yes. So
Yes,
this
sir.
is a scenario. May some of you can also respond in
Yes,
chat.
sir.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
Okay, so I'm happy. There are many people listening. It's not me alone. Thank you. Okay, so now let us move forward. Higher education. We are all not into a school education. Let's understand higher education scenario from my perspective. Again, this is my experience. I'm not trying to generalize it, but I think more or less many of you will agree to this. Do you agree on this picture? Can you have quick answers in chat? Is it a scenario in your college or your institute, your university? Like first year, we are 100% attentive students. Second year,
Yes, sir.
third year, fourth year, we find difficult to get the students into classroom, no matter who is the teacher and what he is teaching.
Yes, sir. Yes.
That's the scenario, right? So now let me infer out of this. This is why students come to the college. This is my personal inference. Again, I'm not generalizing. If attendance is compulsory, you will have classrooms like this. Again, this is a social media forward. I'm not having the courage to put actual pictures here. This is how students respond to us. More or less, some point of time, you have some situation similar to this. So when I inferred out of this, I call it a typical student life cycle. What is student life cycle? In first year, student feels like he is engineer, doctor, lawyer, or whatever degree he joins, the artist, poet, or writer, whatever course he get or she gets admission into. By the time he reaches second year, student get to know there is something called submission, assignment, the passing criteria, internal evaluation and project, and now the internship, and there are so many things. So the journey is not straight like final year to first year in a straight line. It becomes somewhat like this, rather more complicated than this. So by the time any student, irrespective of the degree or diploma or any university level education here the student is doing, I call them a confused student with degree or a certificate by the time they reach final year and pass the degree. Because let me give one example, like a student in a first year thinks of being a doctor, but by the time he reaches final year, he doesn't remains a doctor. He has a confusion. Should I get into gynecology, general practice, or neurology, or any other field? Similarly for a computer people, similarly for any domain. If a lawyer, which law practice I should be doing? Criminal, civil, or any other, right? So that is how they are into. So identify the definition of the university. Generally, I have my own definition for this, but let me present you two scenario. Let us not debate on whether it was the case or not. It's about Macaulay. And there is a lot of debate around that such thing didn't happen. But still, assuming that it didn't happen, are we still in the same phase what he wanted us to be? Whatever is written there, don't you think that's a kind of scenario here in nowadays? Don't you think that somebody like I did my PhD, one from India and one from outside. When I say I did a PhD from University of Rome, and when I say I did a PhD from some XYZ university, I did it from Pune University. Generally, I find people value my University of Rome degree more by default. They don't even ask me the question, what you did at Pune and what you did at Rome. But without asking that, they start believing whatever I did at University of Rome is better. That is the general sin. This is my again personal experience. I'm not generalizing. Do you agree on this? Is it a similar experience with you all? Can I have a chat? Answer in chat. The Macaulay said that we need to break down the backbone of the nation, that is our ancient education system, the system where everybody had a choice to learn what to learn, and the choice is based on their performance, their ability, not just based on the mere test of a 3 hours, and then we call it as Kal Chachni or whatever. There are many beautiful words attached to it. It was understanding a natural liking of the person, natural capabilities of the person, and based on that we were providing the education. From that perspective, we'll discuss the Indian knowledge system today. How it is possible? Can we do that? We have developed certain mechanism of personalizing education in line with NEP. So, if the time and the situation permits, we'll definitely would like to have sessions on this. Anybody of you wish to, I'll be happy to share. Okay. So now this is the Macaulay's view, irrespective of whether it is true or not. But I think we are experiencing the similar situation all around us. Now, what is the solution? The Macaulay reported few things in House of Commons, and this is evident from the various documents. There, he surveyed the Bengal province. In that province, he reported there were 2,57,000 schools, and they are teaching all different kind of school. He reported that Vishakhapatnam school is famous, or they have a lot of knowledge base for still making, still which we don't have. The Kangla school was famous for surgery, and they were doing 16 different types of surgery, which we can't even do today. Literacy rate was 97%. Now, what has happened? How it has like transformed to the situation which I presented you earlier. So if you look at this picture carefully, probably I need not to explain anything. Can I request everybody to have a look at this picture? I'll give you a minute, and you look at this picture and understand what I am trying to say. This is what has made us believe what is there in the West, it is the best. I'm not criticizing anybody, I'm criticizing myself. I don't respect my own culture, I don't respect my own knowledge. It has to be endorsed by somebody who is outside the country. Then only I believe that we are intelligent, that we are scientists. Believe me, we are a born scientist. I am going to prove this throughout my presentation. So whatever statement I am making, I am going to prove those with respect to my experience. Okay. Okay. So if you look at this picture, and I think you are all learned person, I need not to explain it. What has transformed? This is how the situation has transformed in last few years. Okay. If you try to fill these blank spaces, you will realize that whatever I presented earlier is very true. It's not just a jargon. It's a realistic situation. If you try to fill in the blank spaces, try to identify try to fill in your own institute. Can you fill all the blanks? Do you have numbers to put there? Do you have some values to put there? Name your institute, the university was established in year so and so. However, in last these many years, the university has not produced a single thought leader of international repute. Is it not a surprise? Check out for how many universities across country or colleges this will hold true. Now, this is negative side maybe. Let us look at positively. The university was established in so and so year. These many numbers of alumni have secured Nobel Prize, and these many have developed the solution or the product or the some service product which has reached to the every household in your country, or the person has established a business which employed minimum put any number instead of X, minimum 10,000 citizens. Try to understand and try to relate this to the real scenario. I think will not able to justify both the statements. That's the scenario. Audio problem, somebody said. Can somebody confirm it is for everyone? Are you able to hear me clearly?
Yes, we can hear you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
You are audible.
Thank you. Thank you for confirming. I hope I'm not boring you.
No, sir, it's really interesting information you are sharing.
Okay, thank you. So it gives me the motivation for and if you motivate a teacher, that means you need to listen to him for a longer time.
सर थोड़ा राष्ट्रभाषा का भी उपयोग करें तो अच्छा रहेगा सर.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your suggestion. I'll try to.
यही बेटर रहेगा सर.
Okay. So now this is the background which I wanted all of you to understand. Rather, this is like instead of background, I would say it is a more or less experience of everybody of हम सब लोग का ये experience है जो मैंने पीछे के slides दिखाई आपको. I think if you try to correlate this, many of you, बहुत सारे लोग इसको अपने आप से correlate कर पाएंगे. अपने आप से means it can be related with the colleges, universities or institutes you are working with. Most of the things which I shared. Again, this is my assumption. I'm not generalizing, but I think you can understand and try to correlate yourself. When जब भी हम IKS, we say that IKS, or some people refer it as ancient Indian wisdom. I need not explain what is wisdom. So, pragya kahan se aati hai? Pragya, ancient wisdom, or ancient Indian knowledge. This is how we perceive it. It's a mythology. Nothing other than God. It is all about religion. Or there is a lot of prescriptions of बहुत सारे ये करिए नहीं करिए, ये करना है ये नहीं करना है, ये आप कर सकते हो, यहाँ पे जेंट्स नहीं करना चाहिए, यहाँ पे लेडीज नहीं करना चाहिए, यहाँ पे अलाउड है, यहाँ पे अलाउड नहीं है. So we look from that angle sometimes. Some people believe that is a matter of blind faith. I have objection on the word blind faith. Faith हमेशा blind ही होना चाहिए ना. Faith करते हैं मतलब उसको कुछ prove करने की जरूरत नहीं है. I have a faith in somebody. If the person, उस person ने कुछ बोला, that means I am trusting him. I don't verify. I believe whatever he said. Okay, faith is always blind. So it is unscientific. That is the perception. इस तरीके की शायद बहुत सारे बार जब मैं लोगों से डिस्कस करता हूँ तो इस तरीके के रिस्पॉन्सेस या इस तरीके के आंसर्स उसमें से निकल के आते हैं. Again, whatever I am presenting here is my personal opinion. Another thing about the Indian knowledge system is it's a oral tradition. I call it as Shruti Parampara. Let me drag my control here. What do you mean by Shruti Parampara? Can somebody throw a light on it? Anybody can tell us what is oral tradition or Shruti Parampara? Anybody aware? You can type in a chat or unmute and speak up.
Providing information through vocal communication.
Sorry?
Providing information through vocal communication.
Okay, providing, very good. Providing, Amol sir is saying that through vocal. Orally कुछ information pass करना.
Right, sir.
बिना written form के या बिना किसी form के information pass करना. That is what we Shruti Parampara. What do you think? It's good or bad?
Parents, by this way, it is transferred to the next generation. So I
Okay,
think
this is the way we transfer it to
Yeah.
the next generation. What
Yeah.
do you think, Sumit sir? It's good or bad? What is your view?
It is one-side communication.
Yeah, it is good they share their previous experience, but new generation should, I think, reflect on that in the present scenario and apply it.
Okay. So if you look at
So
this,
new generation.
yes,
Hello,
please.
sir.
Yes, please, please.
Yeah, actually, new generation believes on a proof and the written documents rather than oral. What I
Okay.
believe.
Very good. That's a good point. Shweta madam is saying that the new generation, they need something written or they want proof for everything. They don't follow anything without proof. Okay. Amruta madam is saying it's good for the next generation. But don't you think if I transfer orally and if I lose that person, that person is no more, the oral knowledge is, there is no evidence, there is no the stored knowledge, we lose with the person's brain.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay, so now let us come back to the look at from this look at this from the Indian perspective. We believe, I think everybody will agree that knowledge is power. Now, if you agree with this, that knowledge is power, let us compare this power with some real life analogy. Assume that AK-47, it's the gun, or LMG or MMG, light machine gun or medium machine gun. So you have that weapon. That weapon is also a power. Now imagine that weapon is with Indian soldier. Immediately, I think many of you like me have the feeling of security. That my soldier is powerful, I am secure. Now, replace the person holding the same weapon, put it in the hands of a terrorist. Now, you have total different feeling. You will feel most insecure because somebody who is not having ethics, who is not having basic morals, is having the power. Probably that you are experiencing your day-to-day life. I need not to elaborate. You can understand. If the person who is not ethical has a power, be it somebody from your local office at a Gram Panchayat to any other senior office. Imagine if the wrong person is holding power, what it leads to. मैं हमेशा बोलता हूँ राम और रावण में पावर तो शायद सेम ही होगा या रावण थोड़ा ज्यादा ही पावरफुल होगा, but what was missing is the values and moral. So the power without values and moral creates a disaster, and the power with values and ethics Imagine your member of parliament is highly ethical and he really want to help the people and he has a power. What can it leads to? Replace the same person with the or any other officer, not MLA, MP, any officer, a teacher or a principal or anybody, the power with moral and power without morals or values. You can easily understand that. If knowledge is in the written form, does that assures you that it will be transferred to person who is highly ethical? The knowledge is power. We are not talking about the ordinary knowledge. We are talking about a knowledge which can measure the distance of the sun from the earth without any equipments and predicts the entire motion of the our solar system, and it predicts the not predicts it identifies the time for a solar eclipse, the lunar eclipse, and everything. It happens exactly on that time without using any equipments few thousand years back. We are talking about that knowledge which could measure all these things. So imagine if this knowledge is such level of high level of knowledge is with any wrong person. Imagine curing a disease or creating a disease like corona is in the hand of a wrong people. This is knowledge, this is power. If it ends with in the hands of the wrong people, you have experienced what it leads to. It simply leads to a disaster. That's why the knowledge is not like what we are teaching or learning today. It's not a memory based knowledge. It's a top level knowledge which can control the things, even the nature in some cases. So that type of knowledge, if it is with the wrong person without a moral and ethics, it will end in the disaster. That's why we had the process of ensuring the integrity of the person and then only transferring this knowledge. And that's why it is not in any other form. Even though there is a lot of knowledge which is in written form, but it is not in a simple way to understand. You need to the certain level. Like, for example, अगर 400 लोगों को लेके एयरप्लेन उड़ता है, ये किसी जिसको मालूम नहीं है एयरप्लेन का स्ट्रक्चर, उसका कैलकुलेशन, दे विल से हमें बेवकूफ मत बनाइए, because he don't have the power to understand his statement. So unless and until you reach to that level and you have that levels of integrity, the knowledge will not be transferred. That's why either it is encoded or it is into oral tradition just to ensure that it doesn't reaches to the person who are not having basic ethics and morals. मैं मेरा खुद का example बताता हूँ. My grandfather, he died at the age of 109. And probably it will surprise many of you that he has not taken a single tablet throughout his life. He had the remedies, natural remedies for many of the common ailments like malaria, typhoid, and he used to diagnose it by simple observation, and he used to treat our family members with that medication. So I was behind him. दादाजी मुझे आप ये बताइए, I'll use it for a betterment of people. The statement he used to make, please excuse me for using the slang, आप लोग पढ़े लिखे बेवकूफ हो, आप लोगों को इसका सही यूज कैसे करना मालूम नहीं है, आप इसके पैसे कमाओगे, कि पैसे कमाने के लिए नहीं है, इट्स फॉर बेटरमेंट ऑफ द सोसाइटी. That was his statement. The person who just studied up till second standard, making these statements. अगर किसी CEO ने स्टेटमेंट किया किसी भी बड़े कंपनी के, प्रॉब्ली आपको लगेगा कि कितना बड़ा आदमी है, कितना सोसाइटी के लिए सोचता है. बट यू फॉरगेट वन थिंग, ये स्टेटमेंट, ये कल्चर हमारे हर घर में था. माय दादाजी कुडंट बिलीव टिल हिज डेथ दैट पानी भी 10 रुपए का बेचा जाता है. वो तो इस कल्चर से आए थे कि कोई बच्चे के लिए दूध या बीमार के लिए कुछ दूध दही घी देना है, उसके पैसे नहीं लेना है. वो कल्चर से हम वो बोलते थे आप पढ़े लिखे एडिएट हो, आपको मालूम नहीं है नेचर का यूज कैसे करना है, यू डोंट नो हाउ टू प्रोटेक्ट द नेचर. दैट्स व्हाई आज हमें ये सस्टेनेबल गोल और ESG की जरूरत पड़ रही है. So that is our Indian tradition. That is our then culture, which अभी ये जो मॉडर्न लोग जिसको हम लिखने के बाद बिलीव कर रहे हैं सस्टेनेबल डेवलपमेंट गोल, तो ये हमारे प्रैक्टिस में है. तुलसी कहाँ पे लगाना, या आई विल नॉट गो इनटू कौन सा पेड़ कहाँ लगाना, कब लगाना, उसका यूज क्या है, right? So they connected it to the spirituality because we are not having the level to understand that as a science. Okay, so that is the major issue with it. Now another thing, nowadays we call it everything is fair in love and war. That is where we have reached to. From ये stage जहाँ पे हम दूसरे का वसुधैव कुटुंबकम जैसी नीति या हम अपनाते थे, सब लोग भला सोचते थे, चाहे हर जात जमात हर कास्ट के लोग गांव में एक साथ रहते थे, एक दूसरे के काम आते थे. अभी मॉडर्न में एवरीथिंग इज फेयर इन लव एंड वार, एंड व्हाट इज वार, डूइंग बिजनेस इज आल्सो कंसिडर्ड एज वार. So that is where we have reached, and that's why my दादाजी didn't transferred any of the knowledge to me. वो बोलते थे आप तो ठीक है पैसे नहीं लोगे, लेकिन आपके बच्चे क्या गारंटी है आपको, आप उनको नहीं देंगे और वो पैसे नहीं लेंगे. आपको पता चला ये पेड़ अच्छा है, इसका ये मेडिसिन है, तो वो काट के घर में रखोगे और लोगों को उसका पैसे देके बेचोगे. We have experienced that during COVID time, the various injections. I don't want to name, but they were not useful. Still, we have taken that injection at what cost? That is the level we have reached to. That is what I call everything is fair in love and war. That is the level where we have scaled to. Okay. Now, after looking at this, don't you think we need the Indian tradition? I will give example of the known and written history, because we believe in that. Shivaji Maharaj. And if you look at the story, it's not a story, it's a real situation. The army of the Shivaji Maharaj attacked. Shivaji Maharaj के आर्मी ने मुल्ला अहमद कल्याण में जिनका शासन था उनके यहाँ पे अटैक किया, और वो सरदार थे आबाजी सोनदेव. उन्होंने वो लड़ाई में मुल्ला अहमद को हरा दिया. And he captured daughter in law of Mullah Ahmad. She was very beautiful, and Abaji Sondev has presented daughter in law of Mullah Ahmad to Shivaji Maharaj as a gift. Shivaji Maharaj not only punished the Sardar, but apologized to the daughter-in-law of Mullah Ahmad. In Marathi, we call it Sadi Chodi Deun Satkar Kela, and sent her back with all possible honor and escort. And the statement he is made that if my mother, मेरी माता जी अगर आपके जैसे सुंदर होती तो हम भी आपके जैसे सुंदर होते. And he did whatever best honor can be done for that lady. That is our tradition in a war. हम युद्ध में भी नीति का पालन करते थे. If I go to the spiritual and religious, I think it is beyond imagination, but this is a modern history, and I think it is written and proved. So that is our culture. Don't you think it is needed everywhere on the street, the way we are treating our ladies? So that's the Indian knowledge system we need to bring in. Okay, that's a culture, that's the Indian knowledge system. Do you agree with me on this? It's a real story. We are missing badly these things. Yeah, I have one answer in chat. Yes. So there are a few more answers. Okay. So, India, is it not scientific? Is it not culturally rich? You compare it from any angle. Okay. Now, I'll present few cases what Indian knowledge system is all about. So it's a holistic development. I'll not read this diagram because it makes it look like infer like what I presented earlier. But if you have a quick overview, Indian knowledge system has a lot of wealth of knowledge for health and wellness. It has a traditional knowledge of mathematics which can solve the complex mathematical problem of modern world. Traditional medicine, yoga and Vedas, forget Vedas, but traditional yoga, I'll present few cases which we are learning from the West now. The American professor has created one course on yoga, and that is curing the genetic disease. I'm having that in the next few slides. Arts and culture, astronomy, you name anything and try to understand how we are doing that during our ancient time, and you will find that it's way better than what we call the modern world and the way we are doing it today. Okay, हमारे एंशियंट सिस्टम में सिखाने का एक ही मतलब है, एक ही ऑब्जेक्टिव है. हम बहुत सारे ऑब्जेक्टिव डालते हैं ना, सीओ पीओ एंड व्हाट नॉट, वी हैव सो मेनी थिंग्स, but there was a single vision, single objective, single CO, whatever you call it as, outcome based education system. Any perspective, you can define this one statement and imagine the kind of wisdom it will require. सा विद्या विमुक्त, मीनिंग आपको एजुकेशन ऐसा मिलना चाहिए जो आपको किस चीजों से मुक्त करे, किस चीजों से फ्री करे, कोई विकारों से, दुखों से, चिंताओं से, जन्म मरण से, शोक से. फॉरगेट दिस जन्म मरण, शोक रहित, स्ट्रेस फ्री. Are we doing exactly opposite? Are the education causing a stress? Is the education causing burden? Is it are the student doing suicide due to it's very painful today to see students in the 10th standard, not even the 10th standard, 5th standard, 6th standard committing suicide because not scoring the marks. Is it the purpose of the education? Absolutely not. Do we really need to understand this Savidya Yumukti? Forget about the religious background, forget about the spiritual background. But don't you think education should liberate you from the misunderstanding, misconceptions that we have around? It shouldn't be linked only with the package. So what NEP said about this, the NEP talks about the context-free inferences. So irrespective of the concept, context, the situation, what you understand should remain same. Let me give an example. E is equal to mc square will be always same, no matter what is the scenario. 9.8 meter per second will remain the same, no matter in which scenario you are into, right? So you need to reach to this level of truth, the context-free inferencing capabilities. But if you look at, I have two, what is the capital of this country? We are at a data level. Like we have information. If this is the case, then what will be the outcome? If you are asking question of such type, if you are giving a knowledge generation question, and wisdom is quite far from our education. In the interest of time, I will not speak much on this, but NEP has focused on the context-free inferencing, taking students from data to truth. Data, like what you collect from the WhatsApp University or the Google University, or there are many universities around Instagram and Facebook, what you collect and what you infer. There is some knowledge, and that is available for everyone without the integrity and the ethics. So that's why we have disasters. We don't have the real knowledge. We don't have the wisdom. We don't have the context-free inferencing capabilities. Are we really developing that? So you all need to ask yourself. No need to answer for this question. You need to answer. So really, do we need the traditional way of reaching to this stage? From data to truth, from passing those three stages, you need to analyze yourself. Just reflect on yourself, talk to yourself, and try and understand at which level we are asking question. If you identify the questions which are testing their context-free inferencing capabilities, I will hardly able to find a single question in many of the question papers of the university. In my experience, they are at data or information level only. Even we are not taking them to the knowledge level. Okay, you are talking about a Bloom's taxonomy, and there are many things, but I think you all need to reflect on yourself and understand where we are taking them. Are they able to draw their independent inferences from the given input, irrespective of like after listening to the music, are the student able to infer what rag it is, what sur, whether what kind of music is that? Showing some model, are they able to understand the situation, the context, the knowledge behind it? Okay, so that you all need to ask yourself. Okay, and that is what the basis of NEP is. That's why, and uh, it's not my word. So the designer of NEP, the people who have created this policy, drafted this policy, I have high regards. I'm not talking about the politician. I'm talking about the highly accomplished persons who were the member of this team. I think many of us at not at their level in terms of a knowledge or the wisdom they have. So I think we need to trust them and try to follow that the Indian knowledge system is very essential ingredient. The Indian system is essentially ingredients for not only for our country, for the entire world. Imagine engineers without ethics. Imagine doctors without ethics. Imagine any professional without ethics. So can you imagine living in a such world? Probably it will cause stress for everyone. Okay, that's why the NEP highlighted need of Indian knowledge system. Please understand from this perspective. Okay. Now, another few facts, borrowed it from somebody else, Dr. Jagtap. So, as per the historical statistic of Modison, this was the GDP of contribution of India's GDP into world's GDP. More than 33% was India's contribution in the global GDP. You compare the things now. We lost it from 1757, that is Battle of Plassey, and when the British started the colonization of India. This is reported history and reliable sources, written sources, verifiable sources. That's why even if the what Macaulay said is true or not, but it matches with what is written here. The way they behaved and established themselves, it perfectly matches with what the Macaulay is saying. I'm not trying to say that it is true or false, but it matches to the things which are verifiable. We are the youngest nation in the world. I need not to talk a lot on it. This, I'll just draw this inference and then move to the next slide. So these are the youth unemployment figures. We have different problems. This is how we have transformed from telephone to smartphone. This is what we have transformed. I remember doing this, the picture on left. इस तरीके से खेती करना मुझे याद है. आई थिंक मुझे मालूम नहीं कितने लोगों को ये पूरे इक्विपमेंट्स के नाम भी पता होंगे. आई विल से इट इन मराठी because I don't know the English and Hindi, even the Hindi name for the equipments. We have the tipan, sarta, चाळ, उन्हाऱ्या, खत पेरणारे, त्यानंतर त्याच्या मागे एक वखर पण असायचा. Okay, so I don't know how many of you are able to recollect this. I used to collect the price of सबसे सीधा टिफिन चलाने के लिए मुझे कम से कम 500 रुपए का प्राइस मिलता था हर साल. I don't know how many of you have used it or even many of you know this today. Okay. So yes, sir, you are saying that I use this, Sagar sir. Yes, good to know that you have been into this situation. But now we have this modern equipments. That is how the agriculture has transformed. Remember the picture of the tree and the shade they have created, where we are heading to. Do you know what we lost in this process? I think everybody will look at this as a, like, there is one outcome. I'm not opposing the industrialization or mechanization of the farm, but I'm not against anything. But what I'm trying to show you is what we lost in this process. What we lost in this process is we are using the cow dung or the gomutra, like not only cow dung of the animals to as a fertilizer, and the organic carbon was at much higher in the farm field. The biodiversity was protected. The moment we shifted from this to this picture, I'm not telling you to go back to the old system. Please don't misunderstand me. I'll draw my inferences at the end. Okay. The moment we started using tractors, we stopped having these animals, the cow, the bull, and the buffalo. It has resulted in many things. हमें कितना adulterated milk है आपको मालूम है? अभी घर घर में डायबिटीज कैंसर पाया जाता है, आपको मालूम है? Not only this, we started using, instead of DVDing through farm labors, we have tannashak, the herbicide and the weedicide, and that killed various microorganisms, and which has broken down the chain, the food chain, and thereby impacted the biodiversity. So it is up to you draw the inferences out of it. And the organic carbon has drastically reduced, and our farms or the yield cannot be assured without the chemical fertilizers. That is mandatory use that is a misbelief. I have trained 200 plus farmers in 4 districts, Akala, Washim, Amaravati and Buldana. We have cultivated 72 acres of land in and around Shegaon and medicinal crops. The crops are chia, asparagus stem, olive, and mushakdana. 100% in organic way. Okay, so, and the farmers will get almost 3 times more income than what they could get through soya crops or even the cotton. That is our estimate. We have tried it last year, and this year we have scaled it up. Okay, that so Indian knowledge system has ways and means of doing this farming and feeding the people. If you refer the National Family Health Survey 5, which was conducted by Government of India, you will find that the anemia percentage is almost 60% in women and 52% in men. We are growing in terms of the production, but we are losing a lot in terms of nutrition. Do you know the fact that we can, the food which we are eating has only 20% micronutrient left in it, because we are losing almost 80% micronutrients from farm to plate. Okay. So that's a knowledge system we need to go back to. Again, there are various ways. Please don't misunderstand me that I am saying don't use machines, use bull. No, I'm not saying that. Okay. So, but all things have transformed, but this is how the classroom in which my father was studied, it looked similar in the extreme left picture. This is probably the classroom which I studied, was almost the same. Maybe the blackboards are replaced with the smart boards. That's the only difference. Otherwise, there's nothing changed. We're still writing on the boards. And this is probably the classroom on the right, have similar classroom in which my kids are studying. Okay. So don't you think there is some transformation required with the generation? If you look, compare yourself, the way you were behaving in the class, are the kids the same in the classroom today? No matter who is the teacher and what subject is being taught, the attention span is less than 10 minutes. हम लोगों का तो शायद इससे काफी अच्छा था. आप लोग टीचर क्लास में आने के बाद में कैसे बिहेव करते और आज के बच्चे कैसे बिहेव करते हैं, देयर इज लॉट ऑफ चेंज. So probably we need to adapt to the changes and the things, the way we deliver the lectures. Okay, otherwise वो पहला पिक्चर बताया था, हमने सीटी बजाना पढ़ा दिया, प्रिंसिपल बोलता है मुझे तो सुना ही नहीं दे रहा, बच्चे सीटियां बजा रहे। आपका रिस्पॉन्स है या हम लोगों का रिस्पॉन्स है एज ए टीचर, मैंने कहा, मैंने पढ़ाया, मैंने ये नहीं कहा कि उनको आता है, राइट? सो दिस इज हाउ द सिस्टम हैज ट्रांसफॉर्म्ड. Let us have a look up another dimension why Indian knowledge system is essential. This is how much we spend on foreign education every year. Okay, so this is how it has transformed. This is a characteristic of, these are our characteristics of our students, and we need to adapt to this characteristic. So I hope many of you will agree with this characteristic. Do you? Can I have answer in chat? Also, you can respond if it is boring or it is like you would like to continue further. Can I have answer in chat, please, quickly? Okay. So these are our characteristics of students. So I put it like, how we learn, ancient wisdom. So this says that this is how we learn. 1/4 from teacher, 1/4 from own intelligence, 1/4 from peers, and that's peer learning, I think, is almost lost. It is remained to the extent of day before examination, where the peers sit together and guess what are the questions that will be there in tomorrow's examination. And 3 साल के पेपर इकट्ठा किए, सब लोग इकट्ठा बैठे, आंसर ढूंढ लिए, 4 के आंसर तू ढूंढ के निकाल, 4 के मैं निकालता हूँ, and मैं explain करके will appear for examination together. I am talking about 100% ethical way as per the rule. हमने कॉपी नहीं किए, लेकिन 3 साल के पेपर रेफर किए, तो पास होना या मार्क्स लेना कोई ज्यादा डिफिकल्ट बात नहीं है. So, but the ancient Indian wisdom says this is how the learning should be structured. It should involve practice, it should involve peer learning, it should involve own intelligence, and only 1/4 from teacher. So I have adapted one methodology at our institute. Okay, I'm facing a lot of difficulty as usual, क्योंकि मैं believe करता हूँ. In my experience, there are two communities in the world. दुनिया में 2 सबसे डिफिकल्ट कम्युनिटी है, भारत में सबसे डिफिकल्ट कम्युनिटी है 2. एक कम्युनिटी है टीचर्स की, दूसरी है फार्मर्स की. ये कभी किसी का जल्दी से सुनते नहीं, राइट? सो दे नीड अ प्रूफ फॉर एवरीथिंग. they and the acceptance rate is, I think, again, you can compare with yourself and your institute. I'm not generalizing, again, I'm sharing my experience. So the teaching should include all this. The methodology which we adopted is think, watch, do, and explore. What I mean by this, I'll briefly explain. Suppose I'm teaching, I generally teach machine learning. So I go and explain, this is the algorithm and these are the scenario in which this algorithm is to be used. ये algorithm है, ये algorithm को ऐसे scenario में ऐसे data पे use किया जा सकता है. So I explain this in first few minutes. Then I demonstrate them how it is to be used. I demonstrate with the sample data, let's say, and what are the inferences of the output algorithm is giving. Then this I complete in maximum 10 to 12 minutes. After that, I ask them to think upon it, like based on their interest. Suppose I'm interested in agriculture, but unfortunately ended with the B or MCA or BCA course. Think upon like how or where in agriculture it can be used. Or somebody wanted to be a doctor but ended with, couldn't secure the score and ended with being into some technical institute. I ask him or her like how this algorithm or where this algorithm can be used in medicine. You think about it. So I give them a time and some references to study, like how it is being used by X and Y Z company in medicine or agriculture or literature or music or different fields, how it could be used. After 10 minutes of thinking, they need to come up with the idea or a situation in which the algorithm can be applied into their area of interest. Following which, I give them a 30 to 35 minutes to apply the algorithm they have studied, understood, or and they believe can be applied into their situation. So the similar student form a group, like 10 students want to do it in agriculture, 2 in medicine, 2 in music, and so on and so forth. Then they apply this and I guide them through the process of applying those algorithms, moving through each group. Now, once they complete and they draw the inferences, some get inferences, some get answers, and some don't. So I explain them why somebody get the answer and why somebody what went wrong or what went right. And I give them a case studies like where it can be applied and what kind of problem it can solve. So that becomes explore, and they need to refer those algorithm, go back home and understand where it can be applied, watch some videos where it which company has used this and where they have solved. Instead of we have discovered this, what is a complex, instead of doing such things, whosoever has discovered this will focus more on application, right? So that is how I think they are learning 1/4 from a teacher. I'm just explaining little, let's say 15 to 20 minutes in total per students. They then in thinking process, they are drawing the conclusions or they are applying their own intelligence. Then they are forming the group with the similar interests. That's how they are learning. And they are practicing it and exploring it. That's how they are remaining 25%. So that is again my personal inference. So you can modify it the way your students are, the way you teach, or your teaching style, your subject. Okay, but more or less it can be applied to almost every domain. So this is how I think and I had drawn this from our traditional teaching methodology. Okay, so if you go by the current 60-minute lecture theory and 80% theory and 20% practical, so this is the situation. We have a teacher who lives on Earth and we have a student who are on Mars. There is a lot of gap the way we teach and way they want to learn. Do you agree on this? There may be some disagreement here. Do you agree with what I said? And some of you can comment on the methodology of or the pedagogy which I told you. Do you think it's appropriate? Yes, I have one answer so far from Amruta ma'am. She agrees. Okay. Just I think only one person is listening. No, I have few more answers. I have Ninath sir, Sweta ma'am. Okay. Dr. Bhokre sir. Okay. So let us move on.
Hello, sir.
Yes, ma'am, please.
Sir, don't you think if the student won't live on Mars, they may won't get response from other who are actually living on a Mars?
See, from this, what I want to highlight, I'm not comparing in terms of their knowledge level. I'm comparing in terms of the gap or the way the content being delivered. So they have different level. What I am referring to, मैं इस चीज से रेफर कर रहा हूँ कि उनकी अंडरस्टैंडिंग की स्टाइल मेथोडोलॉजी डिफरेंट है और हमारी डिफरेंट है. हमारे मून वाली है,
Yes,
उनकी
yes.
मास वाली. That in that sense, it's not in
Okay.
I agree with you, but my way of comparison was this. I hope I answered.
Fine.
Okay. So now let us, with this background, these dimensions, let us dive into Indian knowledge system. I'll present you the few cases why each one of us, irrespective of your beliefs and practices and any other dimension, why we all should be following fall in line with this NEP and particularly Indian knowledge system. Let me give some example from maybe few domains. With the time frame, I'm going to create a portal for this, and I'll make this all content which could not be covered in today's class available on the portal. You can I'll share it with HRDC, and they will probably share the link with you, so you can go and it will be open for a contribution. Anybody of you wish to contribute can contribute. I have one appeal to all of you. Like, I want attention of everyone for this next 5 minutes. Each one of you, those who are listening it from the car, those who are office, home, while sleeping, taking rest, everybody, I want your attention for next 5 minutes. And those who will agree, they should respond in a chat after I explain the situation. We have, like I explained the situation of my grandfather, that he was having a lot of knowledge about various things. So let me present you one case here. With respect to that, I'll request your contribution. I purposefully like covered the brand names, but if you look at the pickle, my grandmother used to, even my mother, he वो बहुत अच्छा अचार बनाते हैं, मेरी दादी, नानी और मेरी माताजी भी। ये अचार बिना फ्रिज के बाहर, यही तरीका है उनका बनाने का। बिना फ्रिज का कम से कम 2 साल तक चलता है। They have a sequence of each and every activity. If you carefully study, those who are life science experts here or food tech expert here, they can study this sequence and come endorse the paper. There are 600 plus papers on this topic. I have just taken one. So what I found is, ये पिकल में दोनों भी आपको मिलता था, प्रीबायोटिक एंड प्रोबायोटिक। ये मेरा कहना नहीं है, मैं तो मानता हूं, लेकिन साइंटिफिकली भी बहुत सारे लोगों ने इसको वैलिडेट किया। ये जर्नल ऑफ फूड एंड साइंस टेक्नोलॉजी का एक पेपर, मैं आपको एक पेपर प्रेजेंट कर रहा हूँ 600 में से। ये प्रीबायोटिक, मैं सीक्वेंस बताता हूँ। अचार तब डाला जाता था जब जून की पहली बारिश हो गई हो। उसको पहले किससे ट्रीट करना है, सॉल्ट से, टर्मरिक से, या वो बहुत सारे, I couldn't recollect all the names. I know it in Marathi, but so there was a sequence, there was a process, a protocol, what we call in modern world. हल्दी लगा के कितने टाइम के लिए रखना है, नमक लगा के कितने टाइम के लिए रखना है, पानी में कितने देर तक भिगोना है, कितने देर तक सुखाना है. If you look at those protocol, you will find that it is way better than the modern food preservation and processing techniques. फ्रिज में रख के भी बहुत बार उसमें बुरशी लग जाती है. Right? It's not, doesn't remain edible in any case for 2 years. कुछ भी कर लो वो. और प्रीबायोटिक प्रोबायोटिक जो लाइफ साइंस वाले लोग हैं वो समझ सकते हैं इसका मीनिंग क्या है. विच एड्स द डाइजेशन. सिंपल सा जो दादी जी को, दानी जी को, मम्मी को पता था, वो सिंपल सा तरीका इतना साइंटिफिक है, तो आप समझिए बाकी के जो उन्होंने रूल ड्रिवन सिस्टम जो बनाए, ये नॉलेज उन्होंने सबको अवेलेबल कराया जो लोगों के भलाई के लिए. जो पावर वाला नॉलेज है, दे हैव एनकोडेड दैट इनटू अ डिफरेंट फॉर्म्स, और दे हैव पास इट थ्रू श्रुति परंपरा, ओरल ट्रेडिशन. राइट. सो अभी ये देख के, अभी ऐसे ये समझने वाले हमारे पास में लोग जो बच्चे हैं, दे आर इनटू देयर 70s. अभी मेरा प्रपोजल सुन लीजिए सब. दैट इज व्हाई आई वांटेड एवरीबॉडीज अटेंशन. अगर ऐसी कितनी रेमेडीज हमारे पास में है, मैं बोलूंगा बहुत सारी. ये किसको पता है? ये जो डॉक्टर के पास जाता है बुखार खांसी के लिए, उसको नहीं पता. जो हमारे 40s 50s 60s में, उनको शायद नहीं पता. ये उन लोगों को पता है जो 70s में है, और वो हमारे साथ में ज्यादा से ज्यादा आगे के 10 साल है. आफ्टर दैट वी आर गोइंग टू लूज दिस नॉलेज. उनके पास जो है वो तो इतने मॉरल और इथिकल है कि जो पावरफुल नॉलेज वो हमें किसी भी केस में पास नहीं करेंगे, बट अभी इसको कोई रिस्पेक्ट नहीं है ये नॉलेज को. माय प्रपोजल इज, अगर हम कोई ऐसा कैंपेन चला सके कि हर गांव से, हर छोटे छोटे गांव से हमारे पास में बच्चे जहाँ पे ये लोगों के पास नॉलेज है, कैन वी डू अ स्मॉल असाइनमेंट, these students will go to this old age person, and those who are having this knowledge, the senior, no, instead of calling old age, let me call them experienced. Let me correct myself, apologies for saying old. The experienced scientist, I'll prove this word in my next few slide. We'll go to the experienced scientist and understand the way of life based on their wisdom. I'm choosing my words intentionally. Okay, हम उनके पास जाएंगे, उनका जो विजडम है वो समझेंगे, और जो हमारे यूजफुल है, वो लोग इतने एथिकल है कि जो पावरफुल है वो हमारे साथ किसी भी हालत में शेयर नहीं करेंगे. दिस इज माय पर्सनल एक्सपीरियंस. बट जो शेयरेबल है, जो हम लूज करने वाले 10 साल में, कैन वी डॉक्यूमेंट दैट? दैट्स माय प्रपोजल. सो यू कैन रिस्पॉन्ड इन द चार्ट. ये जो एंशियंट नॉलेज है उसको हमें प्रिजर्व करना है, चाहे वो घर बांधने का हो, चाहे क्लाइमेट कंट्रोल का हो, चाहे खाना बनाने का हो, या डिसीज स्मॉल एलिमेंट ट्रीट करने वाला नॉलेज हो, ये हमने प्रिजर्व करना चाहिए. वी ये लोग हमारे पास 10 साल ही है, क्योंकि एवरेज लाइफ हमारी 70s के आसपास है, एंड वी आर गोइंग टू लूज देम टू द नेचुरल डेथ. ओके, सो दोज हु आर willing, they can respond, and we will be doing this. I want to initiate this as a project. Okay, and scientifically validate all that knowledge which we'll get, and we'll call this as a real IKS. We'll scientifically validate all this and create evidences for this. Let it be मेरे focus area है food, health, agriculture and education. So in these 4 domains we have a lot of knowledge which I want to extract through this mechanism. Okay, so if somebody is a NSS in charge, they can do this through their NSS camp as well. There are many ways of doing it. Those who are interested, please note my email ID, which I'll be sharing in chat and as well as at the end of the slide. Okay, so this is our ancient, this is the richness of our culture. This is richness, science behind our knowledge. I just taken a simple example of making achar. So if you look at, I'll present few more cases. Sushruta has created so many surgical equipments made of steel and alloy, means they were knowing the way to manufacture steel and different alloy that time. And lot of physics knowledge is represented in this instrument. Okay. Now we are talking about the International Year of Millet, which has ended last year, that is 2023. It was declared, but do you know, Dr. Khader Wali, if you search this in Google, he has a solution for nutrition security through millets. And many of you might remember this was a regular practice. खारोळ्या, कुरुळ्या, पापड्या, बाजरीच्या, गव्हाच्या, sorry, not गेहू, ज्वारीच्या, all the grains which are included into positive grains. What we are eating today, the rice and the wheat, they are by, this is not my statement. This is Khader Wali, who has invested his life in working on millet and treating people with the food through millet. उनके ये statement है. And if you type in Google, you will find out Siri Dhanya, SIRI Dhanya, and he has disease specific remedies through food. That was our richness of the culture. That was the richness of our knowledge. That is the richness of our Indian knowledge system. The scientists have discovered the impact of millet now in recent past. But we were knowing, if you again scientifically evaluate the recipe, ये बनाने का तरीका आप अगर चेक करोगे, you will find lot of science behind it. The way they were cooked, the way they were preserved, बिना रेफ्रिजरेटर के हमारे साल घर में 1 साल तक कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं आता था. आज हमारा 1 दिन के लिए फ्रिज बंद हो जाए, सोचिए क्या आफत आएगी. 1 दिन के लिए मार्केट बंद हो जाए, सोचिए क्या होगा. सो उनका प्लानिंग भी हमें सीखना चाहिए. 1 साल तक अगर सूखा पड़ जाए तो वो लोगों को खाने का प्रॉब्लम नहीं होता था. एवरीथिंग वाज स्टोर्ड and the storage methodologies. I'm coming to that as well. Okay. Food storage technology. If you look at this, मुंह में पानी आ जाएगा. सोचिए इसका न्यूट्रिशन वैल्यू वाले न्यूट्रिशन एक्सपर्ट हो गए कोई. लुक एट फ्रॉम दैट पर्सपेक्टिव व्हाट वी वर हैविंग. दिस इज अवर ट्रेडिशनल नॉलेज. और ये हम कभी भी नहीं खाते थे आजकल के जैसे. समर में जाके बाजरे का रोटी बाहर मिलता है इसलिए चूल्हे का मिल गया. घर पे घास लाया और चूल्हे का खाने के लिए बाहर घूमते हैं. आई एम नॉट गेटिंग इनटू दैट. बट ये कौन सी सीजन में क्या खाना है, कब खाना है, कितना खाना है, दैट वाज प्रिस्क्राइब्ड. दैट इज नॉट through trial and error. It's a science. It's a wisdom we have carried from the past. Okay, this is our richness of our culture. और हर रिलीजन, हर ट्रेडिशन, हर लोकेशन पे मैं बोलता हूँ, इंडिया में आप कहीं पे भी खड़े हो जाइए, किसी भी डायरेक्शन में 100 किलोमीटर ट्रैवल करिए, यू विल फाइंड डिफरेंट फूड, डिफरेंट पीपल एंड डिफरेंट लैंग्वेज. दैट डाइवर्सिटी एंड दैट्स अ रिचनेस ऑफ आवर कल्चर. हर लोकेशन के लिए अलग फूड बनाता, वो लोकली जो ग्रो होता है, हर एरिया का न्यूट्रिशन के लिए अलग फूड बनाता. हम बोलते हैं कि यूरोप में जाके ये खाना जरूरी है, तो इंडिया में तो इतनी डाइवर्सिटी है. व्हाई वी आर जनरलाइजिंग. आपको सब चीजें सब जगह पे मिलने लग गई, राइट. सो दिस नॉट अवर कल्चर. कल्चर है या टेस्ट के लिए, एंजॉय करने के लिए आप खाते हो, डजंट मैटर. आई एम नॉट अगेंस्ट इट. But understand the richness of our culture, our tradition, our knowledge system. That knowledge system was passed through the generations, right? So this is what Dr. Khader Wali, Siri Dhanya, and you can find the positive grains, neutral grains, and negative grain, and you can easily make out what you are eating and why you have so many health problems. मुझे याद है जब मैं स्कूल में था तो मेरे घर पे गेहूं की रोटी तभी बनती थी जब दिवाली, दशहरा या ऐसा कोई त्योहार हो. बाकी दिन इसमें से कुछ खाया जाता था. आई डोंट नो हाउ मेनी ऑफ यू रिमेंबर दिस क्रॉप. आई हैव सीन इट. आई डोंट नो. भारड्या, भाडल्याचा भात इन मराठी. हाउ मेनी ऑफ यू रिमेंबर. दैट इज कंगनी. इसको कंगनी बोला जाता है हिंदी में, ठीक है. मराठीत त्याला आपण भारड्या म्हणतो, right? So these are the you can understand why you are everybody of us. किसी को एसिडिटी नहीं है ऐसा बंदा ढूंढना शायद मुश्किल है, right? So overweight, underweight is common. All this is rooted into what we eat. Please understand this carefully. Now why I'm showing this. टोमेटो ओनियन रेट 70 रुपए, 80 रुपए, 90 रुपए हो गए तो बहुत सरकारें गिर जाती है. बट इफ यू लुक एट अवर so called, we call them old people, this is the way they used to preserve the food. They used to preserve tomato, onion in the powder form, in a dehydrated form, and their protocol of dehydration was preserving the nutrition. As I told you earlier, आज हम almost 80% micronutrient lose करते हैं from farm to plate. They were taking almost 90% from farm to plate. That's why we are different. So that's why we need Indian knowledge system. That's why we need to fall in line with this IKS, right? So look at this picture. You can easily correlate. This was our storage mechanism. I don't know how many of you seen. Can somebody comment in chat? How many of you seen the way we used to store the grain? आपण याला कणगी म्हणायचो मराठीमध्ये. निरगुडीचे झाडाचे पासून हे बनवल्या जायचे. So now what I'm
ढोली म्हणत
advising
होते ना
here,
सर?
yes sir.
धान्य साठवण्यासाठी ढोली करायचे.
हो. So as I said earlier, प्रत्येक 100 किलोमीटरवरती लँग्वेज आणि हे त्याला नेमिंग चेंज होईल. We call it is kangi.
बरोबर
You call
बरोबर.
it dongi. So like everywhere it will be referred. But the common thing is there is the small plant called nirguli, and these are made from this and coated with the cow dung. मैं ये नहीं कह रहा हूँ आपको कि आप ऐसा बना लीजिए, But can you study the properties of that nirguli and the cow dung which prevented the उसको कीड़ लगना या bugs जो थे उसको prevent किया? What are those characteristics? Can we do the similar in a modern way? Can we use those characteristics? You study the science behind it. हम क्या करते हैं? We look at from the traditional angle and the modern angle. That ends with the wrong conclusion. But the way they store, what were the characteristics? वो सालों तक हमारे यहाँ पे वाशिम डिस्ट्रिक्ट में उसको पेव बोला जाता था, जहाँ पे 10-10, 15-15 साल वो ग्रेन प्रोटेक्ट करके रखते थे. द वे दे यूज्ड टू डिजाइन इट. बिलीव में एक पेव ऐसे खुला है जो मेरे दादाजी ने भी नहीं देखा था कि कब बनाया गया था. So minimum my Dadaji lived for 109 years. Let us assume that it was created before 109 year. एक बार गांव में जमीन धस गई and then we digged out. हमें पता चला वहां पे जवार, बाजरा, ये ग्रेन्स रखे हुए थे. उसमें से 10% अभी भी ठीक थे. 10% we were able to identify. मतलब 100 साल से ज्यादा उन्होंने वो पेव में ग्रेन प्रोटेक्ट किए, प्रिजर्व किए. सो मैं ये नहीं कर रहा हूँ कि आप जमीन में गड्ढे बना के उसमें रखे, बट अंडरस्टैंड द टेक्नोलॉजी, अंडरस्टैंड द साइंस बिहाइंड इट, व्हाई हाउ दे कुड protect the grain for preserve the grain for such a long period of time. They were having the time at which they used to dig out that pits. जब मैंने उसके बारे में इन्वेस्टिगेट किया तो कब गड्ढा खोदना चाहिए, कब ग्रेन करना चाहिए, कब उसका कोट उस पे लगाना चाहिए, कब सील करना चाहिए, so that there are no microorganism or the bugs left inside that cave was ensured. They had a lot of process, there are a lot of protocols, but unfortunately we don't study the science. We call it as ancient or the old or traditional way, and we ignore the science. That's how we are losing a lot of knowledge. Okay, so they were not only protecting the grains, but they were protecting the nutrients as well, micronutrients as well, the way they used to store. Right. So many of you might have seen the uttarand in your house, stack of the mud pots. Okay, Vishwanath ji saying they are having it. Very good, sir. Some are saying the kangi. Yes, I agree. Okay, so we need to understand science behind it. It's not about going back to the original, and they were nature friendly as well. We are talking about sustainability today. Everything is revolving around the sustainability. If you look at the picture, if you can recollect the picture which I showed you earlier, where the tree is converted into shade and we have destroyed the tree and still we don't have the appropriate shade. That's the mindset we are having, and we call it modern. This was sustainable, this was nature friendly. We need to relook, reinvent what is there and present it in a modern form. That is what I mean by Indian knowledge system. I think it was there in every household, irrespective of the spiritual belief, the religious belief. Everybody was using this. That has reached to every household. And depending on the culture, region, it was customized to different grains, different region. In Kerala, you will have different things. In Kashmir, you have different thing. In Maharashtra, you have different thing. That is the richness of our culture. That is heritage. We are having studied the science behind it. Probably you will have several PhDs on this. Right? So that is how the Indian knowledge system. So here is one example. I'll connect with the modern world as well. So I have a friend. I have not taken the permission from him, but I think he will not mind. He is a Satyajit Hange. We were working in the same university sometime back. One fine day, he thought of leaving the job and भैंस पालने का धंधा शुरू किया. Sorry to put it in this word, but not, if you look at the things he is selling and he is exporting it, minimum full moon cultured ghee. The full moon cultured ghee, you can visit his website. I am not marketing him. I would love to, because he is my indirect friend. So full moon cultured ghee, desi ghee cow, he is selling at 4,000 rupees. And Akshay Kumar and the Virendra Sehwag has funded him more than 100 crores for scaling his business. भैंसे पालने को ऐसा बिजनेस बनाया जा सकता है किस तरीके से, फुल मून कल्चर्ड घी, पूनम का किया हुआ कल्चर्ड घी, चूल्हे पे बनाया हुआ घी. तो ही गॉन बैक टू ट्रेडिशनल वे ऑफ मेकिंग घी, and he discovered, and he has all the reports validated by the labs, what is the difference between the way we make a ghee and the traditional way of making ghee. There is a lot of difference. There is a, in everything, the micronutrient texture test, whatever. आप जब आपके घी में जब गर्म किया जाता था मक्खन, उसका घी बनाने के लिए, प्रॉब्ली पूरे घर को पता चलता था उसके स्मेल से. आजकल आप जब खाते तब भी स्मेल नहीं आता है. डू यू एग्री ऑन दिस? ऐसा होता है क्या?
हाँ सर.
या डॉक्टर प्रीति इज सेइंग यस. पहले जब धूप गरम करना वो लोनी गरम करना शुरू किया तो पूरे घर में स्मेल आती थी, बाजू वाले को पता चलता था धूप लाया गया, घी लाया गया इसके घर पे. अभी जब हम थाली में डाल के खाते हैं फिर भी टेस्ट महसूस नहीं होता है. सो दैट मीन्स वी वर कल्चर, देयर वाज अ साइंस इसके पीछे.
सर
यस
आजकल ऑक्सीटॉक्सिन का इंजेक्शन देते हैं ना.
हाँ सर, that is
तो
another
उसकी
story. It's like a blunder. I am not
Yes,
talking about a
yes.
controversial thing, पर लेकिन ये बहुत बड़ा ब्लंडर है, आप लोगों के समझे. रिपोर्ट है, गवर्नमेंट का रिपोर्ट है, ऑलमोस्ट 90% मिल्क इज एडल्टरेटेड. मिल्क जो हम पीते हैं इसमें से 90%, बहुत सारे मिल्क में गाय से जो आप निकाले हुए दूध में भी यूरिया पाया गया है. दिस आर रिपोर्टेड फैक्ट, दिस आर नॉट माय फैक्ट्स, राइट? सो ये हमारे ट्रेडिशनल तरीके से बनाए हुए, इसमें साइंटिफिकली वैलिडेट होता है, तो ये ऐसे ही पास नहीं हुआ है. देयर इज अ साइंस बिहाइंड इट. दैट इज व्हाट द पॉइंट आई एम ट्राइंग टू ब्रिंग. यू आर राइट सर, आई एग्री विथ यू ऑन दिस.
Sir, I want to say something.
यस प्लीज.
एक्चुअली ट्रेडिशनल मेथड में हम जब घी बनाते हैं तो दूध, फिर उसके बाद दही, फिर उसके बाद चाक, और इस हिसाब से बनाया जाता था. अभी जो बनाया जाता है डायरेक्ट, जो मलाई आती है उससे घी बना रहे हैं, तो वो क्वालिटीज हमें नहीं मिलती है जो पहले ट्रेडिशनल मेथड से जी की जाती थी.
बराबर मैडम, मैं आपसे एग्री करता हूँ, लेकिन मैं उसमें और एक ऐड करता हूँ. हम गाय को पहले, मुझे याद है मेरे घर में हम सरकी और ढेप खिलाते थे. सरकी इज कॉटन सीड्स. तो वो सीड खिलाने के बाद में, मतलब हमें गाय भैंस को क्या खिलाना चाहिए ये पता ऐसे ही नहीं है. उसके क्या, कौन सा, अगर आप दादी से पूछोगे या नानी से पूछोगे आपके घर में, इफ यू आर फॉर्चुनेट एंड यू हैव स्टिल योर दादी एंड नानी विथ यू, आई एम सेइंग इफ यू आर फॉर्चुनेट, आई एम यूजिंग इट वर्ड इंटेंशनली बिकॉज इट्स अ ट्रेजर ऑफ नॉलेज. तो वो बताते थे कि फर्स्ट टर्म, जैसे कि टर्म हमारे यहाँ पे उसको वेद बोलते थे. फर्स्ट टाइम अगर भैंस दूध दे रही है तो किसने खाना चाहिए, किसने नहीं खाना चाहिए. पहले 3 महीने का बनाया हुआ घी किसने खाना चाहिए, किसने नहीं खाना चाहिए, कौन सा घी किसने खाना, यहाँ तक उनको नॉलेज था. इज नॉट पॉसिबल विदाउट साइंस. जॉइंट पेन अगर जिन आफ्टर पोस्ट डिलीवरी, इफ द लेडी कंज्यूम द घी, लाइक जो काऊ 3 महीने से दूध शुरू किया है, ऐसे काऊ का या भैंस का दूध या घी कंज्यूम करते, सी एक्सपीरियंसेस द जॉइंट पेन. यानी साइंटिफिकली जो आपके मसल टेंडॉन्स होते हैं उस पे क्या इम्पैक्ट, उसका वीकनेस बढ़ता है, ये रिपोर्टेड है जर्नल में. ये हमारे दादी को कैसे पता होगा, किसी क्लास में ये. सो दिस वेयर आवर ट्रेडिशन, दैट इज व्हाट वी नीड टू अंडरस्टैंड. इट्स नॉट अ मेयर ट्रेडिशन, इट्स अ साइंस. फ्रॉम दैट एंगल वी नीड टू अंडरस्टैंड.
आणि सर
सर फिर अब
Yes,
बोलिए
please. बोलिए बोलिए, गो अहेड.
सर ते सरकी आणि ढेप बरोबर मार्वेल नावाचं गवत
एक्झॅक्टली
ते
सर, यू
पण
आर राईट.
ते पण
आणि एक
चारायचं
आणखी
सर.
पण होतं सुसरमुळ्या, ऐकत तुम्हाला आठवत
हा.
असेल तर,
हा,
वी
हा,
कॉल इट
ते-
शतावरी.
हा सर.
येस, मला आता तेच बोलायचं होतं सर, की आता आपण मॉडर्न टेक्नॉलॉजीचा वापर करून जर शतावरीच्या मुळ्या, म्हणजे कल्टिवेशन, तुम्ही जो विषय घेत होतात आता, की मेडिसिनल प्लांट कल्टिवेट करून ते जर आपण त्या ॲनिमल्सना म्हणजे काऊला किंवा बफेलोला वापरले आणि त्याने आपल्याला जर विदाऊट म्हणजे ऑक्सिटोसिनच्या ऐवजी आपल्याला इंजेक्शन्सच्या ऐवजी जर असं वापरता आलं तर आपण ते क्लब करू शकतो ना, की एन्शियंट ट्रेडिशनल सिस्टीमचे जे सायन्स होतं ते आणि आत्ताची टेक्नॉलॉजी असं वापरून जर आपण ते एन्हान्स करू शकलो, की हेल्दी राहण्यासाठी, तर ते अजून जास्त बेटर राहील.
Yes, madam, I agree with you, and that's the purpose of taking lecture. मैं ये लेक्चर लेने से मेरा एक्सपेक्टेशन है कि शायद हमारे आजू बाजू के डिस्ट्रिक्ट से या जहाँ से भी लोग ज्वाइन किए हैं विल क्रिएट अ मॉडल. आई स्टार्टेड, जैसे मैंने बताया, आई एम ट्राइंग टू बिल्ड अ कंप्लीट इकोसिस्टम at 4 places. One is in at Gogri in Mangrupit Taluka of Washim district. Another is at Shegaon, and as well as we are exploring the possible. We already started in Ladegaon near Karanja, and we are exploring the possibility 2 places at Amravati district. So those who are willing, you will get a job of your field. If you are a biologist, you are the nutritionist, you are the poet, if you are the lawyer, you are a food tech. We need everybody in bringing this up. We are trying to create a circular economy based on IKS in a scientific manner, and will present the scientific evidence of all the traditional methods. That's what we are trying to do. And I'm not a master of IKS, but I think we have the people who will guide us through the process. Right?
यासाठी
So
सर
those who are
अमरावती
willing, they can contact me on email, which I'll share at the end of the presentation. I hope I answered your question, ma'am.
सर अमरावती मधलं
Yes, sir. Vishwanath, sir.
सर अमरावती मधलं रवाळा गाव जे आहे ना सर फुटाणे फॅमिली ते हे सगळं करत आहे सर तिथे आपण म्हणजे हे सायन्स कसं आहे ते समजून पण सांगत आहे.
Very good. Definitely, sir. I'll get in touch with you and we'll visit them.
Yes.
So इसलिए तो मैं वो चाह रहा हूँ कि घर के जो दादा दादी जिनके जो लकी है, जिनके घर पे ये लोग हैं, उनसे हम ये जो भी वो ट्रांसफरेबल नॉलेज है हमारे डे टू डे लाइफ वाला, विल डॉक्यूमेंट दैट. We are on the verge of losing it. So that's why I have chosen this topic. Otherwise, I am a technologist. My one PhD in brain computer interfacing and second is in cognitive science. I am nowhere connected with this IKS, but I think I lived IKS as I was born and brought up in. I spent around my first 20 years of life in a small village called Gogri. वहाँ पे आज तक भी बस नहीं. I am fortunate that I got to know these things. Okay, so that's why I'm trying to share with you my experiences. Now I'll come to the problems. Like third part, I told you we are moving into the third, and that is the last part of my presentation, that will draw the inferences based on this. I have been into Italy almost. I spent around 4 years there, and then I visited several times some European countries as well. I traveled around 22 countries, particularly European countries. So if you look at this example, I want you to pay attention to the duration. There was a philosopher in Europe, Micheli. I respect him, but वो एक दार्शनिक था, यूरोपियन दार्शनिक. उन्होंने सिमिलर थेरीज पुटअप की जो चाणक्य ने पुटअप की, चाणक्य ने डिस्कवर की थी रिगार्डिंग साइंस, इकोनॉमिस्ट, political science and economics particularly. So the fact of the matter which I would like to present to you is, कई हजार साल पहले चाणक्य ने, कई साल पहले, आप अगर देखेंगे 1469 से लेकर 1527 तक मिचियोली ने थेरीज पुटअप की. चाणक्य ने 370 BCE में theories put up की. They were almost kind of similar theories, not exactly, but more or less they were similar. The painful thing here, instead, the Michuli is known as European Chanakya. I find many Indians calling Chanakya as Indian Michuli. Again, I want to take you back to that Macaulay's thought. Don't you think it is real? We started believing that Chanakya should be known by mutually, not opposite. It should be opposite, no? Chanakya has discovered it way before. There are debates around the airplane and various other things, surgeries and medicine, and the modern medicine is talking about the personalized and precision medicine. Ayurveda has it as a regular practice. But मेरे दादाजी बोलते थे आयुर्वेदा बंदूक की गोली जैसा तेज है, हम बोलते हैं ना टाइम लगता है. इट्स अ फेलियर ऑफ द आयुर्वेदाचार्य who couldn't understand a disease and its remedy and the dose. They used to call it as matra, the amount of medicine to be given for particular health condition. हम मेडिसिन कभी भी लेते, there was time, day, and everything is prescribed. So, but the tradition is, traditionally, we are trained our minds, ourselves, to believe if it is not there in a journal, nature, जो अभी कुछ सालों पहले शुरू हुआ है, is not real. That is what we have been trained to. Okay. So, but actually, if you look at these things, जैसे कि मेरा एक research है, I am working on diagnosing the pulmonary tuberculosis by speaking voice analytics. I have discovered the pattern of Parkinson disease first time in the world in speaking voice in advanced early stage. पार्किंसन होने से पहले 3 साल पहले कुछ पैटर्न्स आते हैं वॉइस में जो इंडिकेट करते हैं आपको पार्किंसन हो सकता है. एंड इट कनेक्ट्स विथ ऑल दिस इंडियन नॉलेज. जैसे मैं ये डिस्कवर करते गया तब से मेरा इंडियन नॉलेज सिस्टम पे बिलीफ बढ़ता गया. Right? So whatever science you evolve, probably you will find linkages. Rather, you will find many solutions of real life problem, the problem which I presented, that is sustainable development goal in Indian traditional knowledge. Don't call it tradition, call it science, call it Indian knowledge system. जैसे कि एक आसान सा उदाहरण देता हूँ कुछ आगे के स्लाइड्स में. हमने कैसे ये हमारा इंफीरियर मानना शुरू किया. I am not criticizing what others are doing, any other country. My concept is understand what you have and respect it, if it is respectable, but understand it in depth. Like we have a new branch. I have a collaborator, Enrique Camera from Spain. He is working on healing power of Indian classical music. If I searched, I would like to stop the presentation and show you these slides, these websites. So excuse me for a minute. I'll open these links and show you some of the websites which I am presenting here. And then you yourself infer. हम बोलते हैं कि म्यूजिक से कुछ होता है क्या? And then you can infer yourself whether
it's a therapy, sir.
Exactly. So that is what I'm trying to show you. Like this, there are even the Dinanath Mangeshkar Hospital, Pune. They have started a division called music therapy. So if you look at this website, Darbar, and they have different ragas to treat different ailments. Alag-alag disease, raga therapy, and they have reported data in scientific journal. Okay. Psychological conditions can be cured through music. Maybe that's why we have the tradition of doing bhajan, kirtan and arti early in the morning and the evening. Okay. So which diseases it can treat? Sufferers of hyperesthesia, epilepsy, hysteria, epilepsy, leprosy, mental health conditions, and various other things. This is the raga. Darbari Kannada is for headache. Experience this. If you have underweight baby in your house, download the clip called Brahma Lullaby. Make the kid listen that music while you are feeding the baby. In 3 weeks, you will find the different. You check yourself the outcomes. I will not make any claims, but you can verify yourself. It's non-invasive. So playing music will not harm. So this is energy booster raga. Like this, we have different ragas. So I'll show you one more website, because we are habitual to believe what comes from outside is more better. So here you can see this website, Music at a Medicine. कहाँ पे हो रहा है? John Hopkins Center of Medicine. So they have a center of music and medicine, and all the practices they are quite superior in Indian classical music. Parkinson, Alzheimer. So what all the diseases they are treating, you can see this website. This is official university website of John Hopkins, and John Hopkins is known as one of the best center in medicine, right? So that's the power of a traditional system. That's the knowledge we are having traditionally. So I urge you all to understand it. Look at from this angle. Okay. So don't call it a tradition, call it a science. Unless and until we value it, nobody else going to value it. Okay. So here are the few examples, but the story, what we have done with it. शादी में मंगल वाद्य की जगह पे हमने क्या लाया? It's better not to talk about it, but I would like to present my thoughts. We have DJ. जब भी मैं कोई डीजे देखता हूँ या कोई भी मंगल प्रसंग देखता हूँ, इवन हम गांधी जी की जयंती या बाबा साहब की जयंती पुण्यतिथि भी डीजे के साथ सेलिब्रेट करते हैं. उनको क्या बोलना, मेरे पास में कोई वर्ड नहीं है. दे आर सच ग्रेट पीपल जो बाबा साहेब गांधी जी के जयंती या कोई कार्यक्रम में डीजे लगा के और क्या क्या करके डांस करते हैं, आपको मालूम है. बट व्हेन आई लुक्ड एट देम, सो मैंने एक रामायण महाभारत सीरियल देखा था बचपन में. उसमें बहुत सारे वो जायंट्स राक्षस दिखाते थे, सेना रावण की या उसकी. वो जिस तरीके से हल्ला मचाते थे, वो रामायण के राक्षस और रावण के राक्षस और डीजे में लाख अगर दोनों वीडियोस आप साइड बाय साइड कंपेयर करके देखेंगे, शायद आप कुछ इन्फरेंसेस में इंटरेस्टिंग इन्फरेंसेस उससे निकाल सकते हैं. सो वी हैव ट्रांसफॉर्म्ड आवर सेल्फ फ्रॉम ह्यूमन टू दैट लेवल. सो यू ड्रॉ योर ओन इन्फरेंसेस. सो हमने म्यूजिक को ऐसे यूज किया. अगर हम ऐसे यूज करेंगे तो उससे डिसीजेस कैसे क्योर होंगे, उससे सोसाइटी कैसे बनेगी, राइट? सो this is another example. So let us, I was mentioning about yoga. Traditionally ये तो सब लोगों को मालूम है, it is owned by Indians, but the school or a university in US has came up with the course Engineering Your Health, Introduction to Yoga and Physiology. They have discovered that those who are like life science background, they will understand it very well. There is a concept called epigenetics. What it means, the DNAs or your enzymes or genes, let us be specific, genes change their behavior. जैसे कि हम behavior change करते हैं ना, कॉलेज में तो अलग पर्सन तो वही है, बायोलॉजिकली फिजिकली सब. कॉलेज में तो अलग बिहेव करते हैं, घर में जाके अलग बिहेव करते हैं, ग्राउंड पे होके तो अलग अलग बिहेव करते हैं. सो दिस behavior of the genes is changed. There is no mutation, there is no modification in nucleotide sequence, but the same gene behaves differently in case you are a yoga practitioner, and it promotes the health and well-being. It is scientifically reported. And if you look at this, the author and their country, you will surprise to know that who have reported this. We are doing this for ages. Okay? Please understand it's science. Don't look at it from any other angle. Yeah, psychoneuroendocrinology, somebody saying this. Let me just go through the chart. Mamta ma'am is saying that. Yes, the Garbha Samskar, yes, I agree. Effect of environment, yes. So all this has been well documented, well studied, and well reported in Indian culture. What all you need to understand is from the accurate perspective, right? So that is how it has been rooted into our knowledge system. And if you look at the words they are used, mindfulness, vipassana, yoga, who has studied this? The European people. So please understand the science behind it. So just excuse me for a minute. Meanwhile, you can drop your comments in a chat, how is it is going. I'll be back in just 30 seconds. Okay, I'm back. So I didn't had any response in a chat about how is it going. Am I left alone here? Okay, one person is there. And who is that?
So we are listening.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, thank you. Okay, so here are a few examples of the feedbacks the Indians has given on this course. I leave the inferences with you. I don't want to draw inference myself. So there are more than 8 lakhs enrollment for this course and majorly Indians, and they are leaving a lot of positive comment on it. Stanford, जो प्रीबायोटिक हमारे दादा दादी को नाना नानी को पता था, the Stanford has came with the course on that. The course is about food and health, and traditionally we were practicing that in every house. So if you look at this, so the Stanford's advanced course on food and health, I straight away compare it with Ajibaisa Batwa. All this were there in that Batwa, right? So many of you would definitely agree on this, that it is comparable. Okay, I'm not doing like unreasonable comparison. So it's quite reasonable comparison. So there are a lot of enrollment. If you see it, the numbers here, more than 8 lakh people across the world enrolled for this course. And many of them are from India. And unfortunately, we are ignoring the university at our own house regarding the food, that is our dadi or nani, right? So look at this from the scientific angle. This is the angle which I would like to everybody of you should practice looking at the IKS. Okay, so let us talk about the high end, the latest knowledge, and we call it as genetic engineering. So genetics का discovery मतलब एक world का humanity के लिए एक turning point है. That is how we look at it. Genetic engineering is still considered as a modern science. Still, it is like the very niche area. But do you know that was deeply rooted in our culture? Unfortunately, हम लोगों ने उसको ट्रेडिशनल बोल के बाहर कर दिया हमारी लाइफ से. बट शायद मराठी में आप लोगों ने अगर देखा होगा तो एक शादी के लिए एक बहुत सारी बातों में से एक बात, गुण मिलन करते थे, वो उसमें मैं नहीं जाऊंगा. We can continue for a day on that. The way we used to get married, उसके ऊपर एक दिन बात की जा सकती है. But I will take a small point out of it, and that point is, I think some of you might have heard, मुलांचे आणि मुलीचे मामकूड एक असायला नको. The paternal uncle of the bride and groom shouldn't be the same. Now we have considered it as tradition, and in a modern world, in the era of love marriage, I think it's difficult to make them understand what it was and why it was. Sorry, I went to, like, by mistake clicked. So मुलाचे आणि मुलीचे मामकुड एक नको याचा अर्थ, the genetically same tree मधनं जर आले, that leads to lots of genetic defects in a third generation. That is reported in reliable journals, if you look at this. Okay? And these are quite latest papers. How they have decided is not just based on the practice. It's not just based on the experience. If you dive into this, you will find, if you dig out the knowledge, you will understand how deep it is. You will understand there was a reason of genetics, the mutation, the disease specific elements. So
Sir.
कहाँ पे शादी करना चाहिए, उसके rules थे, and there were, if there is a necessity that you should get in married, there were the process and the remedies to overcome the possible problems, right? But we have ignored it as a tradition. Yeah, somebody wants to say something. I heard some voice.
Muslim community is different, na, but
Yes, sir. That need to be evaluated from their religious angle. They have, because their culture. So what they are following, it can be little controversial here if I explain. But from a pure scientific background, it has a impact of environment from the origin where you came. That, as I explained you earlier, the epigenetics, the surrounding in which you live, that controls the expression of various genes, even your the enzymes, proteins synthesis. So the regional impacts nullifies certain genetic things. If you are into that domain, that region, there you should follow the tradition. The tradition which is not local is not to be followed. That is what my take on it. I hope I answered.
okay, sir.
Okay. So let us move on. इतना ही नहीं, fortnightly एकादशीचा उपवास. Some the Japanese scientist has won the Nobel Prize this, and they have discovered that it enable. I'm talking about latest reported and scientific things only. I'm not taking even to the original IKS. Right? So sometime you may find it little traditional or mythological, what we call it as, but I'm talking about. So Ekadashis are upvas. I think across the religions, they have a fasting. Different, depending on the food, type of food you consume, the way how your lifestyle, everybody has a fasting recommended spiritually or religiously. That fasting promotes the process called autophagy, where the free cells or the unused or the cells which are not in a healthy stage are consumed by the body or cell itself. There is a suicidal bag inside the cell. So this autophagy is activated only after the fasting. The people have won for the Nobel Prize. If you look at the Nobel Prize and carefully study that, many of the Nobel Prize in medicine, economics, and even in art and literatures, you will find that they are closely related with Indian knowledge system. Many of them, not some of them, many of them I am saying, right? So that is the richness of our culture. That's the richness of Indian knowledge system. That is where it has came from. It has evolved through a scientific journey. It's not just a tradition. Don't undermine it. calling it a tradition. As I told earlier, personalized and precision medicine, the modern medicine is still struggling to have a doses personalization, identifying the right. There is a one size fit for all. At the max, they control आप आधा लीजिए, आप एक पूरा tablet लीजिए, but they are not still able to achieve the dispensing concept of personalized dispensing, personalized and precise dispensing concept of Ayurveda. Okay. People say Ayurveda is not working or it takes time. If I have to put my Dadaji's word.
Sir, sorry to interrupt.
Yes, sir.
Can I ask one question?
Yes, please go ahead.
Sir, sir, in previous you have mentioned that fasting cure the cancer, and it is related to our ancient historical or cultural background.
Yes.
Hello,
Yes, sir, please.
am I audible, sir?
Yes, you are audible.
So my question, sir, my question is then how the food we eat or the thing in name of upas we eat enter in this tradition that on the day of fast we eat lots of oily and saturated fat
Yeah.
containing food that is against the basic motto. How it enter in
Very
this
interesting question,
process?
sir. Interesting
Yeah,
question.
I
I
want to
understood.
know, please, sir.
मतलब मैं आपको क्वेश्चन को थोड़ा सिंप्लीफाई कर दूं तो आप ये
Yeah.
कहना चाह रहे हो कि जैसे कि हम जो रेगुलर खाना खाते हैं
हाँ.
इफ इट इज नॉट एग्जैगरेशन शायद फास्टिंग के दिन उससे दुगना खाते
यस सर, हाँ उसको तो एम्पलीफाई कर रहे हैं हम उसी दिन एग्जैक्टली.
बट डू यू
हाँ.
थिंक इट इज रिटन देयर?
व्हाट सर?
डू यू थिंक इट इज प्रिस्क्राइब्ड? ये कहीं पे लिखा है ऐसा आपको लगता है?
No, but everybody follow it, and as you
Yes,
mentioned in
yes.
your
And we
previous
call
slide
it
that
modern. And we call it modern.
that we learn from our parents that उपवास के दिन ये खाना चाहिए, तो वो वैसे कंटिन्यू हो रहा है.
नहीं इस सर ये मिस इंटरप्रिटेशन है. देयर आर 4 different types of fasting. It's a topic in itself. So in which you can consume the water. There is like the modern science has referred it as intermittent fasting, complete fasting, something like, if you might have heard this word. And there are prescription as to what is to be eat, what we can eat and what is not to be consumed. So we are not doing that in the name of comfort, in the name of like, so we have बहुत सारा हमने उसको अटैच कर दिया. आजकल हम पकोड़े भी बनाने लग गए, रागी का वो जो अलाउड है, राजगिरा का ये चलता है. It is not written anywhere. So it is our modification, our misrepresentation. I am coming to that as well. Give me a few minutes.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Okay, so
हॅलो सर.
Yes, please.
ऍक्च्युली लंघन आयुर्वेदामध्ये सांगितलंय आणि उपवासचा ऍक्च्युअल अर्थ म्हणजे फक्त फास्टिंग असं नाही, तर उपवास म्हणजे देवाजवळ बसून म्हणजे एक त्या पद्धतीने एकाग्र मन करणं आणि पॉझिटिव्ह वाईब्स निर्माण करणं, प्लस त्याच्यासोबत एक हलका आहार घेणं. दिस इज ऍक्च्युअल उपवास.
Exactly, I agree with you. So that's why I said it's a topic in itself. The way we should eat. Means we have a prescription, what to eat, when to eat, how to eat. It's very well defined and prescribed. मैंने जो दिखाया था ना. So the fasting, upwas, whatever you referred as, there are the well documented methodologies of doing it. Only thing, the way we have interpreted it is different. So I am coming to that. Give me a few minutes. I'll come back to it. I have one slide on it. Can I move further? So during COVID, I was at my native as everything was shut down. And what we did, we tried to accumulate some traditional knowledge. And what we could find is there are 16 vegetables which are grown in our region. When I say our region means I mean 4 districts, Akala, Washim, Yavatmal, Buldana, and about 5 districts. So in this region, these 16 vegetables were we used to cultivate. And if you dehydrate those vegetables with the scientific protocol, we have identified the protocols from journals, and we dehydrated those vegetables. After dehydration, we prepared mixtures of powders, and those powders were given to the different people who were having anemia. then we observed that only 20% was effective. So is the all micronutrients or the market में जितने भी ये products available में वो 100% effective नहीं है. One size fit for all नहीं चलता. हर एक के body में वो absorb नहीं होते. I don't want to sound controversial, but ये fact है, right? Then we talked to some the experienced scientists, what I call Dadi or Nani, and they told us the classification of individual in different body types. They have their own way of classification, and they told for this body type you need to have absorption enhancer. जैसे कि दादी हमें आप बोलती थी ये छोटे को हल्दी के साथ दूध दीजिए, इसको अदरक डाल के देना है, उसको काली मिर्च डाल के देना है. So they used to personalize it to each individual. We call this as absorption enhancer, and that's a principle in Ayurveda as well. The medicine is generally given with absorption enhancer, medicine plus absorption enhancer for that particular medicine. So what we did, we grouped this into two categories, the mixture from M1 to M8 of all the vegetable in allowed combination. Then again, we are talking about modern science. I'm not still going into the Ayurveda. Then those mixtures were supplemented with Ayurveda, the absorption enhances, and the absorption, then we personalize it. How we personalize it? If you look at this figure, we are making a prototype here in Saraswati College, Shega. In a couple of months, you will have this prototype operational in college, and will be supplying personalized micronutrients to all students in college with the a testy micronutrient supplement. So we had one single handle for all these 11 containers. And the prescription given to the person was, there were two rows, and the top we have labeled it as M1, M2, M3 up to M8 and A1, A2, A3. And the row below it, we had numbers like 10, 0, 5, 10, 5, whatever it is, depending on the personalization need. Again, it's a big topic. It can't be explained. I'm just giving you the overview. Then the person will rotate, like if the M1 has the number 10 written below it, the person will rotate that handle 10 times. Means he will get a particular amount of that micronutrients. So like this, he will use all the containers which are applicable, and we have personalized the micronutrient supplement to each individual. We talked to various company, and that was given by our Dadiji, right? So that is the richness of our culture. So we could cure anemia of 503 ladies, 502 ladies out of 503 ladies in 90 days through this personalized supplement. And anemia is costing us around 5% of GDP. The reported figure of government is this 5% of GDP is the loss we are having to economy. So it is locally produced, locally processed, locally dispensed, and locally consumed. It's a circular economy. That's based on traditional knowledge. So this is a result what we could achieve in 90 days. Okay. So I'll come, the USPs, as I said, 100% plant source. Then another way of looking at it, like I have visited Coliseum several times. I was fortunate to visit Padmadurg. If you look at the Padmadurg water supply system, the fort, Alanga Fort and the Padmadurg, both the forts, they are at the, if you look at the hill ranges, I can consider it as a civil engineering marvel, an unparalleled civil engineering marvel. Like there is no comparison as such. If you go to the Sindhudurg port, in the middle of the sea, you have a lake where you have a sweet, fresh water. So here also you have fresh water for a year. Now it is unused, so it appears muddy, and there is some, due to the biodiversity, some vegetation. But when it was used, even if you go to Ajanta Ellora, kitni bhi barish ho de, pani kahin pe rukta nahi hai. Right? So these are the engineering perspectives. If you look at from this engineering perspective, these are the engineering marvels in the world, and we have many of this. Unfortunately, we don't know. Okay? So that's the richness of Indian engineering. What is the problem is? Problem is the way we present it, way we represent it. Okay. So if you look at this picture carefully, this is a picture of average female height. Lavita, Australia, Scotland, Peru, and South Africa, and India. If you look at Indian, ऐसा लगता है कंपैरिजन में कहीं पे नहीं है. But if you look at numbers, the Indian woman is just around 5 feet, and the tallest is 5.5. Difference is 0.5 inch. The way it is represented, that's the problem. Okay. So who are supposed to represent? We all supposed to represent it in a correct way. If you represent like this, nobody is going to believe it's scientific. Nobody is going to believe there is some science behind it. Everybody will look at it as a jugaad or the tradition, and we'll ignore and we'll lose a lot of traditional knowledge. Please understand the way we need to represent it. Thank you, sir, for a word of appreciation in the chat from, I'm not able to read the name. It's not clearly. Sweta ma'am. Yeah. So are you signaling that we need a break, or do you really mean that?
No, sir, please carry on.
Okay.
It's a nice session.
Okay. So that is how we represent it. That is the way we need to change. The way we represent our traditional knowledge need to be changed. We need to represent it scientifically. There can be various topics which could have been discussed today, but I am discussing. I'm not saying this is the best way. Probably many of you can find out the better way of doing this than what I'm doing today. But you need to represent with that believable scientific evidence. Okay. So that is what we need to understand, what we are missing. This missing gap need to be filled. Okay. So I think many of you will agree on this with me. Right. So these are the various traditional knowledge. Even if you look at your kitchen, I will call it as modern pharmacy. It is nonetheless than the modern pharmacy. जहाँ पे सब मेडिसिन मिलता है, ऐसी फार्मेसी आपके शहर की ढूंढ लो and compare straight away with your kitchen. I'm talking about traditional kitchen, not the modern kitchen with oven and many things. Oven, refrigerator. Our kitchen is full of poison nowadays. But if you look at our traditional kitchen, you will find that it is nowhere less than a best pharmacy in your city, provided you have a traditional kitchen. Right? Each of these ingredient has medicinal value. They believe in wellness, not curing the disease. हमें तो अभी पता चला एड्स आने के बाद प्रिवेंशन इज बेटर देन क्यूर, लेकिन ये हमें ट्रेडिशनली बहुत सालों से पता है. वेलनेस वाला कंसेप्ट आज नहीं है, ये कई सालों से हमारे ट्रेडिशन में. ओके, व्हाट इज मिसिंग? आई एम नॉट सेइंग दैट मनी अर्निंग अप्रोच, ये हमें थोड़ा करेक्ट करने की जरूरत है. Commercialization of this knowledge, we are talking about, fortunately, knowledge economy. If it is taken in the right sense, the knowledge economy, it can really drive. So if you look at, we have knowledge of civil engineering, we have the medicine, we have culture, we have families value, we have genetic engineering, we have like the defense system, defense mechanism. So build on it, use it like in an ethical way, attach values and then earn the money. But if you are just linked with money, that's why we are losing it. Everything is compared. The ultimate aim is getting a job. I believe Indians are scientists by birth. After passing a degree, they become an employee. Okay, so that is what I feel is missing badly. This is, we have everything, but we are utilizing somewhat like this, and we feel we have a lot of shortage of resources. But believe me, this is a real situation. It's not my experience. I'll dare to generalize this across the country. This is the situation. Everywhere we have lots of science and scientific knowledge, but we are using it like this. कैसे करना चाहिए? मैं सिर्फ प्रॉब्लम्स नहीं बताऊंगा, हम इसको बहुत कॉम्प्लिकेट करते हैं इन द नेम ऑफ रिसर्च एंड व्हाट नॉट, द यूनिवर्सिटी गाइडलाइंस, कॉलेज रूल्स, असाइनमेंट टॉपिक्स, एंड देयर आर सो मेनी कॉम्प्लिकेशन we add to it. But my sincere request to you all, keep it simple and consistent. So I came up with the recipe or a prescription, bringing out it as an innovation or starting enterprise out of this traditional knowledge. So what you should do, study the sustainable development goal, understand what are the problems of the world, take one problem of your interest irrespective of your domain and background. Nobody can solve it alone, so don't restrict yourself for selecting the problem of your own domain. मेरा एक unofficial statement है that, again based on my experience, 95% of Indian ends with the job or career in which they were never interested in. हम ऐसे जॉब या करियर में जाते हैं जिसमें हमें कभी इंटरेस्ट नहीं था. ये परसेंटेज 95% ऐसा मुझे लगता है based on my experience. Do you agree on this?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Some can respond in chat. So ये ओवरकम करने के लिए सॉल्यूशन क्या है, क्या करे? So सिर्फ 25 मिनट भी डेली दिया ना, you are a born scientist, believe me. You all are born scientists, those who are attending session today. What you need to do is this: invest 25 minutes daily, keep it simple. बड़े बड़े जर्नल्स पेपर पढ़ने से ही आप साइंटिस्ट नहीं बनोगे. यू आर ऑलरेडी अ साइंटिस्ट. ओनली थिंग यू नीड टू पुट दैट साइंटिफिक नॉलेज इन अ प्रॉपर वे, रिप्रेजेंट इट करेक्टली. ये करने के लिए क्या करना है, मैं एक सिनेरियो लेता हूँ. आप डेली 10 मिनट, जब भी आपका माइंड एकदम फ्री हो, while brushing your teeth, this is applies to me, वो फ्रेश होता है माइंड, सुबह सुबह उठा कुछ नहीं होता है दिमाग में, उस वक्त हम अच्छा सोचते हैं. 10 मिनट बासे हो जाएंगे, कोई बीमारी नहीं होगी दांतों, राइट? सो 10 मिनट तक आप 10 मिनट तक आप सोचे, वॉट एवर टाइम इज बेस्ट फॉर यू इन द डे. देन आई कॉल इट गूगल अंकल एंड चैट जीपीटी मौसी. ये दो लोग ऐसे है 24/7 आपको अवेलेबल है, और जो टीचर आंसर नहीं दे पाते वो सब आंसर इनके पास में है, या जर्नल पे भी नहीं है वो आंसर इनके पास में है. सो जो 10 मिनट आपने सोचा उसमें से 3 कीवर्ड निकाल लीजिए, चाहे कुछ भी सोचा. क्या ऐसा मेडिसिन बनाया जा सकता है जो डायबिटीज क्योर करेगा थ्रू, and it will have vegetable source? I'm not saying it's possible, just imagine, think about it, and 10 मिनट उसके बारे में सर्च करो, ऐसा हो सकता है क्या. ज्योति, 10 मिनट सोचा आपने, उसके 3 कीवर्ड निकाले सोच के, हो सकता है तो कौन से टाइप का सोर्स हो सकता है, कहाँ से, उसको पैकेजिंग कैसे करे, ऐसे 3 कीवर्ड आपने निकाले, एंड सर्च ऑन चैट जीपीटी एंड कैन इट बी मेड पॉसिबल. हर 5 मिनट एक एक कीवर्ड सर्च करें, सिर्फ 5 मिनट, और जो पहला आउटपुट आता है, पहला लिंक आता है, उसको ओपन करके 5 मिनट सर्च करके 5 मिनट के लिए पढ़ना है और नोट करना है. जो हम भूलते हैं, हमारा मिसिंग पार्ट जो है, बहुत सारे लोगों के साथ में ये कहानी घटी होगी, यार ये तो मेरा आइडिया होगा, अब इसका ओला उबर बन गया, या कोई ऐप बन गया, या कोई प्रोडक्ट आ गया. ये सब के साथ हुआ होगा एटलीस्ट 2 बार, जहाँ पे प्रेजेंट जितने भी लोग हैं, राइट? सो आपको 5 मिनट तक पहला कीवर्ड पढ़ना है ढूंढ के, दूसरा कीवर्ड 5 मिनट, तीसरा. सो आई कॉल इट प्रिस्क्रिप्शन 10-5-5-5. 10 बार, 10 मिनट सुबह, 10 योर कन्वीनियंट टाइम, 10 मिनट्स, 5 मिनट्स, 5 मिनट्स, 5 मिनट्स. सो आप क्या करिए कि नोट करते रहिए डेली. इमेजिन इफ यू रिपीट फॉर दिस 30 days, don't you think you will have a real problem and real solution and real answer if it is possible or not? let it be any answer in the world, any problem in the world, right? So if you repeat this for 6 months, imagine where you will reach. But the problem is with consistency, and the second problem is we don't write. We revolve around it, we beat around bush every day. हम इसको आगे बढ़ते ही नहीं, कल जो सोचा था दूसरे दिन भूल जाते, परसों वापस वही सोचते हैं. So this is my solution to it. I'm not saying this is the only solution. Probably you can discover your own way, you can modify it your own way. I think it is one of the way in which we can leverage this, our Indian knowledge system, our knowledge, and transform this into a economy, a knowledge economy, which will actually solve the problems of the people. Nowadays, ठीक है, ad भी ऐसे है या product भी ऐसे market किए जाते हैं, make the people believe that it is a problem and then solve it, जो होता नहीं है. कोई ड्रिंक पीने से आपको हिम्मत आ जाती है, आप पहाड़ पे चढ़ जाते हो. कोई ड्रिंक पीने से आप उड़ने लग जाते हो, कोई कुछ खाने से आप इंटेलिजेंट बन जाते हो. ऐसे एड्स है कि एक फेवरेट आपको मालूम है, गोरा बनाने के लिए बहुत सारे क्रीम चले. मैंने भी कोशिश की, मैं कभी गोरा नहीं बनाया, मैंने कोई देखा नहीं जो गोरा बन गया, right? So we were made to believe that being black is a problem, and then they projected the solution. This is a cream which can make you fair. Okay, ये एक तरीका है प्रॉब्लम सॉल्व करने का. लोगों को बताओ कि आपका प्रॉब्लम है, make them believe and then solve it, or actually find out the genuine problem and then solve it through this method. So choice is yours. That is what we need to do as a teacher. That is, I think, our responsibility. It's not because it is there in the policy. I think every one of us has the moral responsibility of doing this for the society. Okay. And note, you have to understood. No, I think I misspelled something. You have to repeat it till you achieve your goal. I would like to draw your attention to Swami Vivekananda's statements. Stop not until you reach your goal. जब तक नहीं रुकना है तब तक आप गोल तक नहीं पहुंचते हो. And this is the way remedy for it. What you and train yourself and your student for asking question, not writing answers. Generate the curiosity. अभी उल्टा हो गया. कुछ लोग बोलते हैं एजुकेशन सिस्टम का शीर्षासन हो गया. Keep in mind that this is the scenario. You should be. हम बोलते हैं हमेशा यार हम तो सब तो है हमारे पास में, लेकिन करते ही शुरू, एक दिन जरूर शुरुआत करेंगे इसकी. So that one day always remains blank like this on the right. What you see here on the right, you need to make it day one. You need to reverse it. So day one, I'll start it today and now. Then only it can happen. Okay. Otherwise, we Indian are quite habitual to हाँ करते ना, कल से करते, परसों से करते, हाँ शुरू करते, एक दिन जरूर करेंगे. जैसे कि एक शायद आप लोगों का और हमारे स्टूडेंट का एक प्लानिंग होता है रिजल्ट लगने के दूसरे दिन, नेक्स्ट सेमेस्टर में बहुत अच्छे से पढ़ाई करके एग्जाम देंगे. आप में से कितने लोगों का एग्जीक्यूट हुआ, आप खुद को पूछ लीजिए, आपके स्टूडेंट को भी पूछ लीजिए. ठीक है, बिकॉज इट्स वन डे, इट्स नॉट डे वन. Make it day one, what you see on the right. So that's what you all need to do. And I don't think it's because of the policy. I think it's our moral responsibility as well. दूसरा एक प्रॉब्लम है हम academicians का. I think I need not to explain anything. It is said that pictures tells one picture equivalent to 1,000 words. So you can write 1,000 words. Sorry, I lost the connection in between. Now I'm back. I hope I am audible.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Now
Yes, sir.
audible.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
So, give me a minute. I'm just need few more minutes and then I will end my presentation. So I was talking about the problem and the solution for academia. So I think this is a strength and limitation as well. You are free to draw your own meanings. I will not draw any conclusion out of this. I will not say that whom it is applicable, which institute, which faculty. So you have to draw your own conclusions. और जब ये लिबर्टी हमें मिलती है, मैं बोलता हूँ कि 95% जगह पे ऐसा है, तो इमीडिएटली हम अपने आप को 5% में डाल देते हैं. So I am not here to classify anyone. You have to judge yourself. I am not a good judge anyway. So this is, I think, the major problem. Despite of having everything, as we discussed earlier, as I told you that I will be presenting. So this was my last part of the presentation. So there are a couple of slides which I would like to show, and then we'll stop here. Okay. So as I promised, I think my contact details are visible here on the slide. Okay. The PC is behaving strange. Let me stop and reshare the presentation. I'll just share my contact details, and that's for day. I hope you enjoyed the session. There was little addition to, otherwise Newton has discovered 3 laws. मैंने चौथा बनाया है. Knowledge after any invited talk remains, before and after invited talk remains the constant. मुझे लगता है ऐसा नहीं हुआ होगा. I hope कि थोड़ा 0.01% कुछ knowledge में addition हुई होगी. That is what I expect. Thank you, everyone. Thank you very much for your patient listening and
Thank you very much, sir.
interactions. If there are a couple of questions, probably we can take. I think we are almost on the time.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for such a wonderful and informative insights through this session. Participants, now the forum is open for discussion. If you have any kind of queries or the question or just some kind of interaction, you can do it now. Please.
I think, sir, there are no questions. So in that case, we can stop.
Hello, sir.
Yes, ma'am, please.
May I?
Yes,
Yeah,
please.
yeah, ma'am, please.
Yes, sir. Sir, actually, the only one question from my side is, अभी जो current problem है, वो है related to drugs. एंड अगर हम IKS सिस्टम से हमारे कुछ कंपेयर कर सकते हैं वैल्यू से और एनीथिंग दैट कैन बी रिलेटेबल, जिससे हम इससे बच सके. हमारे जो यूथ में ये ट्रेंड चल रहा है, उससे हम किस तरीके से ओवरकम कर सकते हैं, या कोई वे है ऐसी जो हम रिलेट कर सके कि जहाँ से हम निकल सकते हैं और हमारे यूथ को कोई रास्ता बता सकते हैं.
Yeah, definitely. It's a nice question, madam. I would like to share with you that the United Nations, WHO, World Health Organization for Animal Health and Agriculture, they have come together and they have launched a platform called Antimicrobial Resistance Platform. You seems to be from life science background, if I'm not wrong.
No, sir, I'm from computer science.
Computer science. Good that you are thinking in this line. Generally, the life science people would ask this question. But anyway, so I am the only Indian member to United Nations and the WHO platform, which have came up with the action plan. It is known as Global Action Plan, GAP, GAP,
Okay.
Global Action Plan for Antimicrobial Resistance. It has 5 goals, and that is need to be at customized at every national level, that we need to customize it as a NAP, National Action Plan. So we have already customized and submitted to the government, and probably very soon in United Nations General Assembly, it will be passed as a resolution and budgetary provisions will be made, and it will come as a solution for this problem. It's a very big problem. I appreciate being a computer scientist, you identified this problem.
Thank you, sir.
So you can search it out for GAP, Global Action Plan for AMR. If you put this
Yeah, sir,
keyword,
sure.
you will find it in Google. Yeah.
Okay, okay. Thank you so much, sir.
Sir, I think there is no more questions or the queries. So shall we conclude, sir, this session? If you
Yes,
could
sir,
permit.
please.
Yeah. So thank you, participants, and thank you, everyone. I will conclude this session with one of the quote that संस्कार ही अपराधों को बचा सकते हैं और भारतीय ज्ञान परंपरा ही संस्कारों को स्टूडेंट में रुझाने वाला एकमात्र पर्याय आज हमारे सामने यहाँ पे अवेलेबल है. So Professor Bothe sir has delivered very insightful and thoughtful session today that integrated in our curriculum. So definitely there are lots of challenges, but using this IKS, we definitely, sir, come out with some proper solutions that will impact on our holistic development as well as the societal development, and that will be inculcated in our national development agenda. So on behalf of UGC Malviya Mission Teacher Training Center, Sant Garge Baba Amravati University, I extend my sincere gratitude and sincere thanks to Professor Santosh Bothe sir for being with us and enlighten us on such a huge topic. Sir, you have explained this IKS that is complex topic in a very simplest way. So I once again express my heartfelt gratitude and sincere thanks on behalf of Malviya Mission Teacher Training Center, Sant Garge Baba Amravati University, to Professor Bothe sir and enlightening us on today. And I will express my sincere thanks to sparing your valuable time in your busy schedules. Thank you so much, sir. And with the kind permission of Professor Bothe sir, I would like to declare that this session will be over here. Thank you everyone.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you, everyone.
Okay, so participants, we will meet tomorrow with our tomorrow schedule. Thank you, everyone. We will stop now.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.